Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. What if Naruto was raised by sea mermaid? Movie. A very good-looking blonde man was drinking in the sea air. The sea breeze gave life to the white sails of the young man's ship. The crew was bustling around the ship working hard at keeping the royal ship in working order. The blonde man looked out to the sea with his cerulean eyes burning with passion. How he loved the sea. At sea he felt free. He did not need to worry about his princely duties or anything. Here all the sailors are his friends and they don't treat him any differently than they do each other. Prince Naruto, we really should not be out in the sea. We should be back at the palace figuring out which woman you will be marrying. A man with brown hair pulled into a ponytail said. The man's most striking figure was his large scar that was right on the bridge of his nose. No matter how many times Naruto asked the man, he would never tell him how he got it. Oh, lighten up, Iruka. We are out in the sea, let us enjoy it. Naruto yelled as he began to climb the ship's mast. The sea was breathtaking. Naruto climbed down from the mast and was greeted by his pet fox. Hey, Kyuubi, you love the sea just as much as I do, huh? Kyuubi let out a little fox-like chuckle of agreement to his master as Naruto petted him. Kyuubi's orange fur was so soft against his hands. Prince Naruto, we really need to find a wife for you. How will you rule the kingdom without one? Naruto rolled his eyes at his caretaker's antics. He knew Iruka truly cares for him, but all the princesses just did not sit right with him. They were not what he was looking for. He wanted someone who was kind, thoughtful, and would always be there for him, cheering him on. He needed that if he was going to rule the country of Konoha right. Let's go over the princesses you have met. Princess Ino was too superficial. She only cared about her looks and hot guys, so I don't want her as my bride. Princess Tenten was way too into weapons, and her precision with them was insane, but that was all she cared about. Princess Temari was scary. She was a peace advocate, which is good, but she was a little too much for me. He said, still petting Kyuubi. Iruka let out an exasperated sigh. At this rate he is going to effectively eliminate every princess from being his wife. Iruka thought. Why don't you stop thinking about that wife problem and watch the sea? She is mighty fine today, isn't she, Prince Naruto? One of the sailors said to Naruto, trying to save him from the complicated world of political marriages. King Hiashi must be in a friendly mood today. King Hiashi? What are you talking about, Kiba? Naruto asked, looking up at the feral-looking brown-haired man with curiosity in his eyes. Yeah, King Hiashi, ruler of the merpeople, thought every good sailor knew about him. Kiba said with almost a smirk on his face. Iruka shook his head. Don't pay attention to this nautical nonsense, Prince Naruto. Iruka said with a hint of superiority in his tone. Kiba glared at the man before continuing his story of King Hiashi. King Hiashi lives fathoms below in the ocean where he and his children live with all the merfolk. He controls the sea using his trident. Trident? What is that? Naruto asked. Kiba opened his mouth to explain it but was cut off by another sailor who wore sunglasses. A trident is a mystical scepter that looks like a fork, but has the power over the ocean. The sailor answered. Kiba nodded in agreement. Thank you, Shino, for your explanation. Naruto said as he turned to look at the ocean with newfound admiration. I wonder what it is like fathoms below in the ocean. Presenting His Royal Highness, King Hiashi proclaimed a very cute seahorse to the crowd of merpeople who were gathered in the Undersea Palace Theater. Today the children of King Hiashi were going to present themselves to the people by showing off their singing ability. King Hiashi came in on a golden seashell chariot pulled by two strong dolphins. King Hiashi brandished his trident and used its magical ability to turn on the magnificent chandelier that hung from the ceiling. All the people cheered the entry of their kind king, who was now making his way to the royal balcony to enjoy his children's presentation. When he got to his balcony he straightens the sea crown that lay on his long brown hair. Oddly enough, the sea crown made his lavender eyes pop out. He stood with dignity that only a royal could have, presenting the royal musician and the king's right-hand man, Neji. A younger version of the king came out on a less decorated shell chariot pulled by two porpoises. The young merman went over to the king on his chariot. Hello, Your Majesty. Neji greeted with a respectful bow. I trust that everything will go well. Hiashi replied after saying his greeting to Neji. Of course, Your Majesty, you will look forward to your children's singing ability. Neji replied with pride beaming from his face. What about Hinata? The king asked, curious as to how his youngest daughter was faring with all this. Ah, Princess Hinata has the most beautiful voice. Neji answered as he turned his chariot to the podium where he would conduct the whole event. If only she would show up to practice every once in a while. He mumbled under his breath. When he got to the podium, he pulled out his music and tapped his conducting stick on the stand and began waving it along with the music. Ah, we are the children of Hiyashi. Great Father who loves us and named us well. Anko, Kurenai, Udon, Konohamaru, Hanabi, Shikamaru. The first was a mermaid with purple hair and eyes. The next had black wavy hair with red eyes. The next was the first son. He had brown hair and big weird-looking eyes with glasses. Konohamaru was next and he had spiky brown hair with black eyes. Hanabi was the girl version of her father. Shikamaru was the lazy genius with no motivation whatsoever. They all sang in harmony and Neji was truly proud of them. He snuck a peek towards the king to make sure he approved of the performance. He did, of course. If he likes this, he will love it when Hinata sings. Neji thought as he continued to conduct. And then there is the youngest in her musical debut. Our seventh little sister, we're presenting her to you. To sing a song Neji wrote. Her voice is like a bell. She's our sister, Hina. Shikamaru, you are supposed to open the clam that Hinata is in. Hanabi whispered vehemently to her brother. Shikamaru looked at her before lazily swimming over to the purple clam where their sister is. Troublesome. He sighed before he bent down to open the clam where his favorite sister lay waiting to make her big appearance. Hinata, for your sake I hope you are there, he thought. Everyone held their breath waiting for the beautiful Hinata to make her debut. When the purple giant clam opened, there was no princess there. Everyone gasped, and Neji braved a look over at Hiyashi. Hinata, Hiyashi roared. How troublesome, Shikamaru muttered as he stared at the empty clam. Hinata was swimming through a ship graveyard. Her lavender eyes matched perfectly with her lavender mermaid tail. Her almost violet hair is long and beautiful, the envy of many mermaids. She swam with her best friend, Sakura. Sakura has short pink hair that brings out her green eyes and pink tail. Hinata, not to sound like a pain or anything, but I think we should go back. This place gives me the creeps. I feel like a shark could pop out any minute, Sakura said warily, hoping Hinata caught on to her uneasiness. Oh come on, Sakura. Nothing bad is going to happen to us, so just relax. How about this, we will only check out one ship instead of all of them, okay? Hinata compromised. She really wanted to go exploring the ships to find anything from the human world. The human world always fascinated her with its foreign objects and mysterious ways. What probably made her love it more was the fact that it was forbidden to merpeople. That was made it so much more enticing to her. The thrill of adventure pulled her in and took her away from the dreary world of royalty. Sakura nodded at her friend, knowing that was the best deal she was going to get. The duo came across an old royal ship that had sunk at least 30 years ago. Hinata went through the porthole with relative ease and Sakura followed. As soon as they were in the ship, Sakura got into the whole collecting human objects thing that Hinata was into. The two girls enjoyed collecting things and putting them into Hinata's orange bag. Sakura looked out the window and saw a red shark with what seemed like black eyeliner around his eyes. So she did the only logical thing to do when one sees a shark. Scream, shark. Sakura swam out of the way as the shark crashed through the window with its massive strength. Hinata looked over at her friend and began frantically swimming away with her friend. He is still following us. I told you we shouldn't be doing this, Sakura yelled as they were being chased by the shark. Just shut up and try to lose him, Hinata yelled as they swam for their lives. None get away from Gaara. The shark yelled with death in every word. Hinata and Sakura began swimming faster. Hinata pointed towards a giant anchor and Sakura followed her. The two girls easily fit through the loop on the anchor, but Gaara got halfway through before getting stuck. Hinata let out a soft chuckle as Sakura swam up to Gaara. Ha, take that, you big bully, she yelled as she stuck out her tongue at Gaara. Gaara tried to chomp her head off, but Sakura quickly swam away towards Hinata, who rolled her eyes. Quit being such a guppy, Sakura. Am not a guppy. Ha ha, whatever, Let's get this stuff to Sarutobi, and see what he says. The two began swimming towards the surface to find the seagull, Sarutobi. Up at the surface, Sarutobi was sitting on his little island, sitting on his lookout perch, when he heard a melodic voice call his name. Sarutobi. Hey, Sarutobi, Hinata called out to the seagull. The seagull pulls out his telescope, but looks at it from the wrong end, making Hinata and Sakura seem very far away. Mermaid's off the port valve. Hinata, can you hear me? Sarutobi yelled at the two seemingly far away mermaids. Sakura pulls the telescope away from the seagull, revealing their actual closeness to him. Wow, you guys are fast, he exclaims. Hinata giggled softly as Sakura rolled her eyes in exasperation. Alright, you senile seagull, tell us what this stuff is. Show him, Hinata. Sakura answered, slightly annoyed. Hinata grabbed the orange bag and held up a fork. Well, this is a dinglehopper. Humans use it to style their hair. You just stick it in there and give it a twist, and behold, a gorgeous hairdo. Sarutobi said as he demonstrated for them. His white feathers on the top of his head poofed out like an afro. The girls giggled as Hinata took back the dinglehopper. She pulled out an old-fashioned pipe. Humans invented this to pass the time because back in the day they would just sit around all day and stare at each other all day. He got into Hinata's personal space when he said this, but continued anyway. So they made this snortblat in order to make music. All you gotta do it blow. And Sarutobi took in a deep breath before blowing into the pipe. All that came out was seaweed and seawater. Oh, music. The concert. Oh, father is going to kill me. Hinata yelled as she gathered her stuff from the coughing Sarutobi. That's today, Sakura questioned, but knew that her friend was right. Sorry, Sarutobi, we got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. Hinata yelled as she and Sakura dove deep under the water, leaving Sarutobi behind to continue whatever it was he was doing before they came, but he couldn't remember what that was. Hinata, how could you? This was a very important concert. Hiyashi's voice boomed throughout the underwater palace. Sakura was with Neji, listening in on the conversation right outside of the throne room. I'm sorry, father, I just forgot. Hinata truthfully replied. How could you forget? He was about to continue with his tirade, but Sakura came into her friend's rescue. It wasn't her fault, sir. We were exploring together, and then this shark named Gaara came. Yeah, he was all like, you can't get away, and we were like, oh. Then we got away, then the senile seagull was like, this is this and that is that. Sakura explained while acting out the whole thing. Seagull. Hinata, you went to the surface again, didn't you? Hiyashi boomed with anger, causing Sakura to back down and meekly smile at her friend that she just caused more problems for. Nothing happened, Hinata replied, attempting to keep her cool under her father's overpowering rage. You could have been seen by one of them, by one of those barbarians. That was the last straw for Hinata. Daddy, they are not barbarians. Doesn't matter, you are forbidden to go to the surface or have anything to do with those humans. His rage was too much for Hinata. She swam away with Sakura trailing close behind her. Neji swam up to the distressed Hiyashi, who now slumped on his throne. Do you think I was too hard on her? Hiyashi asked, genuinely concerned. No, King, sometimes you just have to put the children in their place. You did fine, Neji answered. The king was not as sure as Neji was. Could you just check up on her for me? He asked pleadingly. Neji could not deny the king's request and went after the hurt princess and her friend. Neji was on his way to Hinata's room when she saw Hinata and Sakura with an orange bag heading away from the palace. Neji, being the loyal subject that he is, decided to follow them to wherever they were going. The two girls led Neji to a large cave with a rolling rock in front of it. The two girls rolled the rock aside with ease and slipped into the cave. Neji followed closely behind, but his tail got stuck on the rock door. He tried to pull his tail free, but was failing miserably. He decided to take a break from trying to free himself in order to look at his surroundings. He was surrounded by Hinata's collection of human trinkets. There was so many things that he had no idea what they could possibly do. He looked towards the center of the cave where the two girls sat. Sakura had a comforting hand on Hinata's shoulder. He just doesn't understand. How could anyone who made such wonderful things be bad? He doesn't see how much I long to be part of the human world. I would give almost anything to walk on the land. It would be so nice to lay on the warm sand. I know it sounds silly, but I would really love to do that. The human world just seems so magical, Hinata said with a bit of longing in her voice. Neji's heart really went out to the girl. Wanting something that you could never have, must be horrible, he thought as he finally freed his tail, but in the process knocked over some of Hinata's collection. Who's there? Sakura yelled as she got into a defensive position. Hinata looked and saw that it was Neji. Neji, what are you doing here? Hinata asked with kindness evident in her voice. Neji looked up at the girl and smiled lightly. Your father just wanted me to check up on you, Princess Hinata. He answered with just as much kindness in his voice. All of a sudden a black shadow covered over the three. All of them looked up through the skylight of the cave to see that a ship sailed by. Hinata's curiosity was piqued and she swam towards the surface with Sakura closely behind. Hey you two, get back here, your father is going to kill me if he finds out you are going to the surface. Neji's command fell on deaf ears. Both girls already broke the surface and were staring at the multiple fireworks going off around the royal ship. The two girls stared in awe of the whole scene. Neji broke the surface as well. Come on you two, let's go, he said. Neji, look at the ship. You gotta admit that is pretty cool, Sakura said referring to the fireworks. As soon as she finished that sentence Hinata swam towards the ship and climbed up its side so that way she could see in the ship without being spotted. When she looked at the deck of the ship, what she saw took her breath away. A very vibrant red blush came across Hinata's face as she looked onto the deck of the royal ship. There was a very lively party going on. Sailors were drinking, talking, and dancing. Beautiful music rang throughout the ship, but what took Hinata's breath away and caused the neon red blush was the one producing the music. He was tall, tan, blonde, and had such blue eyes that even the blue sea was jealous of their color. He was so gorgeous. Hinata had seen her fair share of good-looking mermen, but none were quite like this human. He was playing a silver flute and his pet fox was dancing along with his musical playing. Kyuubi picked up an unfamiliar scent, so he decided to follow the scent. Hinata's attention was taken away from the blonde man when she noticed the fox coming towards her. She quickly moved her body out of the field of vision of the fox. She waited for a few minutes before sneaking a peek to see if the fox left. He didn't. In fact, he licked her. Ha ha, hey there buddy, she giggled softly after the fox was done licking her. Kyuubi, come here, Kyuubi, a velvety voice called. Hinata's face turned bright red again as she looked to see the blonde-haired man as the owner of the most wonderful voice she had ever heard. She smiled softly as she saw how warm the man was to his pet. All right, Prince Naruto, I have a surprise for you, Iruka said as he commanded everyone's attention. Naruto stopped playing with Kyuubi in order to give his undivided attention to his caretaker. Oh, Iruka, you shouldn't have, Naruto cried as he patted Iruka's back. Yes, I know. Well anyway, this was supposed to a wedding present. Naruto rolled his eyes at the wedding part. Iruka just won't leave me alone about that. I'll marry the right girl when I see her, Naruto thought. Iruka ignored Naruto's obvious annoyance of the word wedding as he continued. Happy birthday, Naruto. 4 sailors came out with a large heavy object that had a drape over it. As soon as the sailors set it down, Iruka pulled off the drape to reveal a statue of Naruto. The statue of Naruto had him triumphantly stand in a heroic pose with a sword stuck in the ground beside him. The statue was magnificent, but it was not Naruto's style. It was too flashy and regal. Naruto winced along with the rest of the sailors at the present. Kyuubi let out a whine of annoyance when he saw it. So, what do you think? Iruka asked with obvious pleasure. Oh, look at him. He looks really happy. I can't tell him that I hate the statue. Alright, I'll just tell him what I think, sort of. Wow, it is really something, Iruka. I don't think I have ever seen anything like this. He was telling the truth. He had honestly never seen anything like this before. Hinata laughed at Naruto's comment. She could see the obvious disdain in his face, but he looked so cute with that look on his face. The party continued and Hinata watched it some more. Kyuubi would come every now and then to lick Hinata's face. All was peaceful until... Hey Hinata, what are you doing? Screamed Sarutobi as he swooped down next to the mermaid. She quickly grabbed Sarutobi's beak in an attempt to silence him. Shish, do you want them to hear you? She asked, annoyed that the seagull interrupted her peace. She let go of his beak when he shook his head no. She let out a sigh, but turned to continue watching Naruto. Are we on some sort of stakeout? Or are we gathering information? We are out to discover. Sarutobi shrieked. Hinata clamped his beak shut again. When she was about to let go, a huge storm came brewing from the east. Lightning brightened the whole night sky. Ominous clouds came raging in along with the rain that pelted the humans with large droplets of water. Thunder crashed so loudly that one could almost go deaf from it. A vicious wind picked up and sent Sarutobi flying away from the ship. He let out a yell as the wind threw him across the sky. Hinata held on as best as she could to the side of the ship, but was thrown off and fell into the water. She surfaced again just in time to witness a lightning bolt strike the mast of the ship. The mast burst into flames and soon the whole ship was in flames. Hiba ran over to the lifeboat. Come on everyone, into the lifeboat, Hiba commanded as all the sailors got into the medium-sized lifeboat. Shino cut the rope that held lifeboat to the boat and the boat fell into the water. They were floating away when Naruto noticed that Kyuubi was not on the lifeboat with them. Where is Kyuubi? He asked frantically. Everyone searched for the orange fur ball. All of a sudden a fox-like cry was heard on the burning boat. Kyuubi was standing on the boat unharmed, but trapped. Kyuubi! Naruto yelled as he dove into the sea. He swam towards the boat to save his absolute best friend from the searing flames. Prince Naruto, get back here! Iruka yelled with desperation hanging on every word. Is Naruto crazy? He could get killed. Naruto climbed the side of the boat with only one thing on his mind, and that was to save Kyuubi from certain death. Naruto dodged a piece of flaming sail that came from the mast. He jumped over some singed wooden beams to reach his orange fox that stood near the steering wheel. Jump, Kyuubi, I'll catch you, Naruto claimed as he extended his hands towards his pet. Kyuubi nodded before he jumped into his master's awaiting arms. Naruto was bringing Kyuubi to the edge of the boat when his foot got stuck and he lost his balance. In his lack of equilibrium he threw Kyuubi safely over the boat. Kyuubi swam to the rescue boat where all eyes were on Naruto. Every sailor was silently praying that their prince would get himself free before the flames got to him. Shino tensed up. What's wrong, Shino? Naruto will get out before the flames get to him, Hiba said with confidence. Iruka nodded as well. All the sailors looked at Shino waiting for him to reply. What was our cargo? Shino asked knowingly. Well, we had spices, the prince's present, and, Hiba's voice trailed off when he realized what Shino was referring to. His face had fear etched all over it. What was the other cargo? Iruka yelled with frustration and fear. Gunpowder, Shino answered solemnly. All the sailors and Iruka's faces showed a fear they never felt. Their prince was going to blow up. Talk about going out with a bang. Naruto frantically tried to get his foot free, but couldn't. The last thing he heard was a large explosion before he slipped into darkness. Hinata watched in horror as the boat exploded into many pieces of wood. Ah, where is Prince Naruto? She asked as she searched for the gorgeous blonde in the debris. The storm raged on, but she saw him on a piece of wood floating. She swam over to him, but before she got to him he slipped under the water. Oh no, he'll drown. She dove in as fast as she could and grabbed his hand. She pulled him to the surface and swam him to shore. When she arrived to the shore, the storm had long since passed and was daylight. She smiled at the sun, but prayed that Naruto was still alive. She dragged him onto the shore and lay beside him. She laid there for a few minutes catching her breath. When she caught her breath she picked herself so she was sitting next to him. He was so beautiful. Hinata touched his cheek, and a bright blush came across her face. He is so beautiful. Father is wrong. How can someone as beautiful as him be barbaric? Wait, is he alive? Hinata frantically thought as she looked at him. She noticed his chest go up and down. She let out a sigh of relief. Good, you are still alive. In the sea close to the shore but out of earshot of Hinata, Sakura and Neji were looking at her. Wow, Hinata sure knows how to pick them. He is cute, Sakura exclaimed to Neji. Oh no, when her father hears about this he is going to kill me. Oh hello, King Hiyashi, well you see your youngest daughter, Hinata, fell in love. Oh, but not with just anyone. She fell in love with a human. Neji frantically yelled. Sakura rolled her eyes and turned her attention back to her friend, silently wishing her luck with her newfound love. Hinata put her hand back on Naruto's cheek, tracing the whisker-like birthmarks. She began to sing to him, hoping that her voice would reach him and convey her feelings to him. What would I give to live where you are? What would I pay to stay here beside you? What would I do to see you smiling at me? Naruto was beginning to regain consciousness. The melodic voice was intoxicating. He wanted to quickly open his eyes to see who it was, but his eyes were not obeying his wish. He just hoped that the girl would continue singing, so he could see her. Where would we walk? Where would we run? If we could stay all day in the sun. Just you and me, and I could be part of your world. Naruto's eyes were slowly opening. He felt a soft hand on his right cheek, so he gently put his hand on top of hers. The touch was electrifying and gave him the energy he needed to open his eyes. She was directly above him, but he could not make out her features because she was blocking the sun, so there was no light on her face, and also he was still groggy from his little adventure, so his eyes were not focusing. He smiled at her and she smiled back. She was just about to say something when Naruto could hear Iruka's voice in the distance calling his name. The girl quickly left the bewildered blonde before he could even find out who she was. Kyuubi licked Naruto's face as the man slowly got up. Oh, Prince Naruto, thank heavens you are all right, Iruka exclaimed. There was a girl here. She saved me, and she had the most beautiful voice, Naruto said, staggering towards Iruka, who caught him when Naruto lost his balance. I think you drank too much seawater. There is no way that beautiful girls just wait in the ocean to save princes in distress. Come on, let's get you inside, Iruka said as he slowly guided Naruto back to the palace. Come along, Kyuubi. Kyuubi was playing by the water's edge because it picked up Hinata's scent, but it followed after its master at Iruka's command. Hinata was on a rock watching the whole scene with longing in her heart. Her heart could not take it anymore, so she let out her feelings in a song following the same tune as the one she just sung for Naruto. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know something's starting right now. Watch and you'll see, someday I'll be part of your world. Sakura watched her friend with a hint of sadness. It would be impossible for Hinata to be with the human prince, but nonetheless, she was going to support her friend in this. Hinata does not fall in love easily, so if this guy has got her attention, there must be something special about him. Neji on the other hand was worried about the king would say. He turned to Sakura. Okay, I won't tell the king and you won't tell the king. That way we both stay in one piece. Well, the king won't do anything to me, but I promise I won't say anything. Sakura replied to Neji, trying to calm him down. Well, this is interesting, right, Kabuto? An eel said to the other eel next to him. This eel had black hair in the shape of a chicken's butt and the eel next to him had silver hair pulled back in a ponytail. The silver-haired eel had glasses that glinted as he replied. Yes, it is Sasuke. The sea witch will be pleased to see this. The silver-haired one replied as his left eye began glowing gold and Sasuke's right eye began glowing too. Kabuto, you are right, I do like this. Hee hee, she fell in love with a human, she will be the perfect key to Hiyashi's undoing. A mysterious voice said menacingly from a cave far away as it stared into a crystal ball that projected what the two eels saw. Hinata, forget about that human. Please, Hinata, just move on. Neji pleaded as said girl was twirling her almost violet hair with a look of daydreaming on her face. I am sorry, Neji, did you say something? Hinata answered after being snapped into reality. She was daydreaming of Naruto again. This time she and Naruto went dancing in one of those human balls. She was wearing a lavender sleeveless dress that hugged her curves just right, while he wore a dashing black suit with an orange tie. He smiled a smile so brilliant that the sun could not have been any brighter. Their hearts beat as one with the music. She was floating as they danced. Neji pulled her into reality when Naruto was about to kiss her. She was devastated for being censored out of her dream so early, but was also so happy from the dream that she did not even mind. I was saying that you should forget about the human. Hinata, it has been 3 days since you saved him. If you keep this up with your lovey-dovey eyes, the king is going to figure it out. Neji reprimanded, but Hinata waved him off. She did not care. She was in love and that was all that mattered. Neji sighed as he turned to Sakura. Please help me, she will listen to you. Sorry, Neji, but I am out of this one. I believe Hinata can love whoever she wants. Sakura replied as she sat on a coral reef watching her friend pretend to ballroom dance. Neji sighed again. He suddenly perked up. He had an idea. Fine, if you won't listen to me, you'll listen to him. Sakura turned to Neji shocked. He wouldn't, would he? Don't you dare, Neji. Sakura threatened menacingly. Neji ignored it as he pulled out a conch and blew into it. No, Neji, you have doomed us all. Sakura dramatically said. Within seconds of the conch being sounded, a sand cloud could be seen heading straight towards Neji. The pink mermaid rolled her eyes when she saw the one who was causing the sand cloud. It was a red crab with black hair in a bowl-cut hairstyle. You called, Neji. I used the power of youth to get here as fast as I could. The crab yelled with such youthfulness that it made Sakura cringe. Yes, I did, Lee. I need you to talk Hinata into forgetting that human, Naruto. Can you do it? Neji asked the crab. Lee threw his claw up with a huge smile on his face that sparkled. He went over to Hinata to begin his mission. Lee opened his mouth to begin. Hinata, listen to me. The human world, it's a mess. Life under the sea is better than anything they got up there. The seaweed is always greener. In somebody else's lake, you dream about going up there. But that is a big mistake. Lee got all the fish and Neji in his little singing explanation. The whole area was alive with music and dancing. The only problem was that Hinata was not into this whole scene. She wanted to get away, so she looked around to see if Sakura could get her out of the mess she was in, but Sakura was nowhere to be found. Just look at the world around you. Right here on the ocean floor. Such wonderful things surround you. What more is you looking for? Lee got into Hinata's personal space trying to drive the point of the ocean as better home, but Hinata was not really listening. She was merely humoring them by pretending to be interested in what they had to say to her. Lee went over to Neji to continue dancing. Ladies and gentlemen, Neji was dancing, and he was very awkward. Being a musical genius did not mean that he had any moves whatsoever. Hinata giggled as she watches the not very graceful merman bust a move. Sakura swam up to Hinata and whispered something into Hinata's ear, and the two left unnoticed by everyone who were way too into the song at this point. Under the sea, darlin', it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me, up on the shore they work all day. Out in the sun they slave away, while we devoting full time to floating. Under the sea. Lee did a huge finale with everyone singing with all their heart, and then everyone pointed to where Hinata was supposed to be. When they noticed she was not there, the other fish and sea creatures besides Neji and Lee left feeling they had wasted their time. Neji and Lee looked at each other before Neji sighed, someone ought to put a leash on that girl. As the two were getting ready to leave the scene, the cute seahorse who introduced Neji and King Hiyashi came up to the two with a look of urgency on his face. Neji, King Hiyashi needs to speak with you. He says it is urgent, something about Hinata. Neji and Lee both looked at each other thinking the same exact thing. He knows. Hiyashi was sitting on his throne in a daydreaming type of way. Hinata has been acting differently. According to her sisters, it is because she is in love. I wonder who the lucky merman is. Hiyashi sighed happily as he waited for Neji to arrive. Just as King Hiyashi began happily humming to himself, Neji and Lee appeared in the throne room. Hiyashi cleared his throat and regained his kingly air. Neji and Lee, have you noticed Hinata acting strange lately? Neji and Lee gulped. How were they going to cover for Hinata? What do you mean, King? Neji asked, deciding that playing dumb was the best way to approach this situation. Lee caught on to Neji's approach. She is as youthful as she always been. Lee answered, trying to hide his nervousness. She has been singing for no apparent reason, dancing, and smiling, and daydreaming. Is that not odd for Hinata? Hiyashi asked, conniving. He was going to get the answers he wanted from these two. The tension in the room could be cut with a steak knife. Neji was suffocating in it. He couldn't take it anymore. I tried to stop her, but she fell in love with a human. I tried to stop her, sire, I don't deserve to live. Neji wailed. Hiyashi's happy demeanor was long gone. Hinata. Anger filled his voice. Lee shook his head. This is far from the bloom of youth. Sakura and Hinata arrived at Hinata's cave of collections. Sakura, why don't you just tell me what you want to show me? Hinata asked with a giggle. Sakura smiled at her friend and laughed. No, you will just have to be patient and wait. Sakura giggled as she opened the cave door. Hinata looked around her cave to see if there was anything different. She saw that in the center of the cave stood the statue of Naruto that Iruka gave him when she first saw him. Hinata gasped out of joy before giving her best friend the biggest hug she could give. Thank you so much, Sakura. Hinata cried as she swam over to the statue. Hinata started to act out ways Naruto would propose to her with the statue. Sakura watched her friend with amusement in her eyes. Man, Hinata has got it bad. At that moment an ominous presence was felt. The two girls tensed up. They turned to look at the doorway. There stood Hiyashi with anger etched into his face. On either side of him floated Neji and Lee with an I am so sorry look. So this is what you do in your spare time? Hiyashi yelled at his daughter. Before Hinata could even protest, Hiyashi began destroying her collection with his Triton's awesome power. Hinata begged her father to stop, but he would not. He kept shooting beams of power until everything, but the statue was destroyed. Hinata felt her heart lurch as she saw her father point the Triton at Naruto's statue. Her Naruto's statue. Daddy, no, she yelled with passion. Her father ignored her request and destroyed the statue without a second thought. He turned to leave behind his sobbing daughter and her bewildered friends. He did feel a little remorse of what he did, but quickly cast out that feeling. This is for her own good. Humans are barbarians, and the faster she learns that the better. Hinata fell to the floor and sobbed her lavender eyes out. Neji went over to her, but she shooed him away. He was going to make a second attempt, when Sakura grabbed his wrist and told him to forget it and leave her alone. The three sea creatures left the miserable princess to sort out her feeling of hurt and sadness. The girl was alone in her despair for a good 10 minutes before she heard someone come into her destroyed cave. Who is there? Hinata asked between heartbroken sobs. Just two friendly eels, Sasuke replied as he got close to Hinata, with Kabuto trailing closely behind. Please just go away, I want to be alone, she answered. We know what hurts your heart, Kabuto answered. And we know someone who could help you. Sasuke finished Kabuto's sentence. Who? Hinata asked curiously. She was willing to try anything to be with Naruto. The two eels were ecstatic to hear her curiosity. The Sea Witch. The Sea Witch will be able to help you with your love problems, Kabuto said. She can reunite you with your love, and complete your heart's most prominent desire, Sasuke stated. Hinata felt uneasy with the eels, but quickly disregarded her premonitions. She nodded and followed them to the Sea Witch. Like said before, she was willing to try anything. The two eels led her to a very eerie-looking cave that sent 1,000 warning signs to Hinata, but she ignored them. She even ignored the living plant things that grabbed onto her and tried to get her to turn around. She was on a mission, and she was not about to back down now. Come in, child. Don't lurk in doorways, it's rude, a menacingly sweet voice said. Hinata turned to see the owner of the voice. He was half octopus and had long black hair. His eyes were a freakish gold color and were that of an eel. Hinata shuddered under their stare, but trudged on anyway. Hello, Hinata, my name is Orochimaru. Now, I hear you fell in love with a human. The only way to get what you want is to become a human yourself, he said coolly. Can you do that? Hinata asked with shock evident in her voice and facial expression. Orochimaru swam over to her and placed his hand under her chin and stared intently at her as he began. My dear sweet child, that's what I do. It's what I live for, to help unfortunate merfolk, like yourself, poor souls with no one else to turn to. Orochimaru looked around his lair and began pulling out various bottles of questionable content. Oh, and there is one more thing. We haven't discussed the subject of payment. But I don't have any. Orochimaru cut Hinata off by covering her mouth with one of his tentacles. Ew, gross. Doesn't he move around on these? Hinata thought. I am not asking for much, just a small item of compensation. What I want is your voice. Orochimaru emphasized the word voice. But without my voice how can I? Hinata began to question, but was quickly cut off by Orochimaru. You'll have your looks and your pretty face. Also don't forget the importance of body language. Orochimaru retorted as he stroked a sexy pose. Hinata closed her eyes and turned away from the horrible sight along with Sasuke. Kabuto did nothing. He is a creeper after all. Okay, so you need to get the prince to kiss you, but not just any kiss. It has to be a kiss of true love. So in other words, he has to fall in love with you. This has to be done before the sun sets on the third day. If it does, you will remain human permanently, but if it doesn't, you turn back into a mermaid, and you belong to me. Now do we have a deal? Hinata nodded slowly. Okay, so sign here, Orochimaru said as he pulled out a magical glowing contract. He gave her a feather pen, and she was about to sign it when. No, Hinata, you mustn't. Neji cried as he, Lee, and Sakura entered the cave. The eels silenced them by wrapping their bodies against their mouths. Hinata looked away from her friends and signed the golden contract. As soon as she signed it, the contract disappeared and Orochimaru had an evil look on his face. Maybe you should have listened to those thousands of warning signs, Hinata thought as Orochimaru threw all the potions into the cauldron-looking coral. Beluga, Sevruga, come winds of the Caspian Sea. Larynxes, Glacidus, add max laryngitis la voce to me. Now sing, Orochimaru commanded with a half-crazed look in his eyes. Hinata nodded and began singing. Her voice was utterly beautiful. Keep singing. Two green magical hands came towards Hinata and went into her vocal box and stole her voice. Her voice was a small golden glowing ball that continued to sing what Hinata was singing only moments before. Orochimaru put her voice in a shell necklace, and then activated her potion. A huge orange bubble engulfed Hinata. She squirmed in the bubble as her friends watched in horror. Her once beautiful lavender tail transformed into two beautiful pale legs. The bubble popped and left a half-naked Hinata struggling to swim. The eels let Hinata's friends go so they could help her swim to the surface. Sakura put Hinata's right arm around her shoulder and Neji did the same with the left. They both quickly swam to the surface to let Hinata take a breath. The three merfolk and Lee broke the surface in record time. Sakura and Neji looked at each other, sharing a look of helplessness as they brought their friend to the shore where she would join the human world and try to win her love's heart by the end of 3 days. Azure eyes stared into the ocean searching for the beautiful girl that saved his life. Naruto sat on a rock as Kyuubi played by the water's edge. Kyuubi found a starfish and was now playing with it, but without hurting it. Naruto was not paying attention to his pet, but to that beautiful song that girl sang to him 3 days ago. Who could she be? I want to see her again so badly. I know she is out there despite what Iruka says. I will find her. Believe it. Naruto pulled out the silver flute he played the night she saved him. He put the sliver mouthpiece to his lips and began to play the intoxicating melody that the girl sang to him. Kyuubi suddenly perked up and tugged Naruto's pant leg. What is it, Kyuubi? Naruto looked down into the red eyes of his fox friend. Kyuubi kept pulling Naruto into the direction of the southern tip of the beach. You want me to follow you? All right, lead the way, Naruto excitedly yelled as he followed his overly ecstatic friend. What Naruto did not know was that Kyuubi picked up Hinata's scent due to the wind bringing her scent to him. Hinata sat in a pool of ocean water as Lee looked for something to clothe the half-naked girl. I can't believe you made a deal with Orochimaru. He is definitely planning something. Neji ranted as he looked at the new Hinata. Sakura rolled her eyes at Neji before looking at her friend. I wish I could disagree with Neji, but he is completely right. Hinata, what have you gotten yourself into? Sakura thought before pulling herself next to her friend. Neji, it doesn't matter what she did because it has already been done. We have to figure out what we are going to do about it. Sakura stated with authority in her voice. We have to tell the king about this. He can transform Hinata back, and we could pretend like this never even happened. Hinata began furiously shaking her head. Don't shake your head at me. How are we going to pull this off? We are going to march right back to the palace. Neji's anger started to fade away as he looked into Hinata's sad eyes. Her lavender eyes lost the spark they held before, and it seemed that with each of his words he was slowly killing her. All right, fine, we won't tell the king. So how are we going to get the prince to fall for her? Neji asked. Hinata's face lit up and she gave Neji a peck on the cheek filled with gratitude. Well, first we have to clothe her. We don't want everyone to see all of her youthfulness. Lee cried as he brought a piece of what seemed like a sail. The piece was large enough that Sakura was able to turn it into a decent dress for Hinata to wear. Okay, so what is the plan? I have no idea, Neji said disheartened. I got one. Well, Lee, you will have to stay with her since you are the only one of us that can go on land. You are going to do all that you can to get Hinata and Naruto together, got it? Sakura replied. Lee nodded enthusiastically, going on about how the power of youth was going to ensure his success. Neji turned to Sakura with a questioning look on his face. What are we going to do? Neji asked. Sakura paused for a while before answering the king's right-hand man. We are going to go back to him, and tell him that Hinata ran away and we couldn't find her no matter how hard we looked. He will probably send out some search parties, so we will go on those search parties and lead them away from Hinata's trail. Sakura smiled, completely satisfied with her plan. Neji rubbed his chin, contemplating if the plan was going to work. He smiled. I guess this will work. I can't find anything wrong with it. Hinata applauded Sakura's genius as Sakura took a couple of bows. Okay, now we just need to find a way for her to get into the pala. Neji was cut off by a distant cry. Kyuubi, where are you going? Kyuubi, come back here, boy. Naruto cried, running after his orange fox pet. Ack, he's coming. Lee, you know the plan. Come on Neji, let's get out of here before we are spotted. Good luck, Hinata. I wanna hear all about this later, okay? Sakura commanded. Hinata nodded at her friend and mouthed, thank you. No problem. Anything for my best friend. And with that, Sakura and Neji dove into the ocean. Lee jumped into a pocket in Hinata's raggy clothing. Yosh, let the power of youth guide us. Lee cried as he pumped a claw into the air with energy. Hinata smiled at him before seeing an orange fur ball running towards her at full speed. Hinata saw the fox and ran onto a nearby rock that barely put her out of the fox's range. The fox kept on yelping in excitement by the sight of Hinata. The mermaid princess smiled and began petting the fox. The fox purred in happiness. The fox knew there was a reason he liked this girl, besides her ocean lavender scent. Kyuubi, where are you? Oh hi. The blonde prince said sheepishly when he spotted the very beautiful girl on a rock. Her lavender orbs looked up from the fox she was petting to look at him. Her gaze took his breath away. They were filled with such innocence, carefreeness, and love that he only saw when he looked into the ocean. Her long, almost violet hair was as sleek and captivating as the ocean itself. Naruto could feel his cheeks getting warm. Hinata, however, felt like her cheeks were in an inferno. She could not believe he was looking at her. She did not know what to do, so she did the only logical thing to do in this situation. She fainted. Hinata began to stir back into consciousness when she felt warmth on her left side of her body, upper back, and under her knees. She slowly opened her eyes to see that Prince Naruto was holding her bridal style as he walked towards the palace. He is holding me. I think I am going to. Hinata fainted again from the closeness to Naruto. Lee peeked from the pocket he was hiding in inside. If she keeps fainting, we are not going to get the prince to kiss her. I wonder if the prince does CPR on her. Would that count? Lee thought as he slid back into the pocket. Kyuubi walked next to his master as he looked up at him. Naruto smiled at his pet before looking back down to the girl he now held. She looks really cute when she is asleep. Gah, perverted thoughts be gone. I need to stop letting Kakashi and Jiraiya influence me. Naruto let a faint blush come across his face, but then his mind thought of something else. Wait, could she be the girl that saved me from drowning? Is she? I pray to God she is. Is it her? Kyuubi rushed into the castle while Naruto trailed behind him holding the beautiful Hinata. The fox was jumping around in excitement as if he knew the two behind him would become something more. Oi, Prince Naruto, welcome back. How was your wall? Who is that pretty girl? She would be perfect for my research. Greeted a long white-haired man with black eyes in his usually perversion. Arrow advisor, stay the hell away from her. Naruto yelled as he held the still unconscious Hinata protectively against his chest. Jiraiya laughed before getting sent flying by a punch from a blonde-haired woman with brown eyes who looked younger than her real age. Thank you, Ba-chan. Naruto cried in a childlike manner. Don't call your advisor that. Show some respect, Naruto. The blonde yelled. I don't show Jiraiya any respect and he is an advisor along with you, Tsunade. Besides, it is more fun to call you Ba-chan. Just before Tsunade was going to challenge Naruto's logic, Hinata stirred from her slumber. Ah, you're awake, Naruto exclaimed when Hinata's lavender eyes fluttered open. She looked up at Naruto and a blush came on her cheeks as she fought to stay conscious. What is your name? Naruto asked Hinata. Hinata opened her mouth to say, Hinata, but no sound came out. She tried again, but the same result. She can't speak, so she can't be the girl who saved me, Naruto thought sadly as the girl tried one more time to say her name. Hinata had a look of defeat on her face that made Naruto's heart go out to her. He wanted to say something to comfort her, but did not know what. She looked so helpless and sad that it hurt Naruto's heart. Prince Naruto, where did you find her? Tsunade decided to ask. On the beach, he replied looking up from Hinata whom he still held. Well, this is just a guess, but she is draped in a sail. She might have been in a shipwreck, and the traumatic experience must have made her lose her voice. Tsunade thought aloud. Hinata looked up at the woman. Is that what happened, dear? Hinata blinked at Tsunade a couple of times. Okay, well, I can't really tell them how I lost my voice, so I guess I'll just agree with the whole shipwreck thing. That story will probably work to my benefit, and I'll be able to stay with Naruto. Hinata thought. She nodded and a look of compassion came on Tsunade's face. Oh, you poor thing. That must have been a traumatic experience. Were there any survivors? If there was, we could go look for them. Tsunade was trying to be helpful. Naruto nodded with a determined look on his face. He was willing to help the beautiful girl find her friends and family. Ah, they can't search the ocean. They might find Sakura and Neji. Okay, Hinata, shake your head. No. Hinata obeyed her thoughts and Tsunade and Naruto looked so sad. Oh, you poor thing. I can see why you lost your voice. Here, come with me. I'll take you to Kakashi and he will take care of you. Hinata smiled weakly at the woman's kindness. Oh, by the way, I am Lady Tsunade, and this is Lord Jiraiya. Tsunade said when Jiraiya came back while rubbing the cheek Tsunade had punched. Hinata giggled softly at the two advisors' antics which made Naruto laugh too. Naruto, she can walk, you know. Tsunade said smugly to get Naruto back about laughing at her. Naruto blushed lightly with the realization that he still held her, and that he did not want to put her down, but he reluctantly did as he was told. Hinata stumbled a bit when she attempted to walk, but Naruto caught her. You okay there? He asked concerned, hoping she would say no, so he could hold her again. Hinata nodded as she attempted to walk again. This time she managed to walk to Tsunade who guided her inside the castle to Kakashi. Jiraiya came up to Naruto. Prince Naruto, what are we going to do with her? He asked with genuine concern. Naruto looked at him before he replied. She will stay with us. When she can speak again we will ask her where she is from and we will take her back to her home. Naruto answered with a professional tone in his voice. Jiraiya watched Naruto walk inside the castle with Kyuubi trailing behind him. Jiraiya sighed. HMPH, sounds like you really do not want to send her home. Hee, things just got interesting around here. Jiraiya thought as he too went inside the large and regal-looking castle. A spiky silver-haired man with a mask covering his face from the nose down filled Hinata's tub with water when Tsunade and Hinata, with a lavender-colored robe on, entered the bathroom. Thank you, Kakashi, for preparing our guest's bath, Tsunade said as she handed him the rags Hinata was wearing before. No problem. I'll just take these clothes to be washed, Kakashi answered as he took the rags and walked out of the room. Unbeknownst to everyone, poor Lee was still in the pocket of Hinata's rags. Kakashi took the rags to the washing ladies who started hand-washing her rags and poor Lee as they gossiped about Hinata and Naruto. One of the washing ladies dropped the rags in the press room. Luckily Lee was able to peek his head out to see his fate of being squashed like a pancake if he did not get out of the pocket now. Lee used all his youthful power to get out of the rags and out of the pressing room before anyone spotted him. I have no clue where I am, Lee cried in frustration. Okay, I will allow the bloom of youth to guide me. Lee closed his eyes to get in touch with his youthfulness just like Guy Sensei taught him to. All right, it is telling me to make a right. Yosh bloom of youth full power. Lee yelled as he dashed with the speed only Lee could reach towards the direction his youth powers told him to go. Unfortunately for him, he ended up in the kitchen. A chubby man with spiky longish brown hair was cooking some seafood for tonight's dinner. Kakashi poked his head through the door to check up on the chef. "Oi, Chef Choji, how's dinner coming along?" Kakashi asked the man who was humming some sort of song as he cooked. "Dinner will be ready soon. I am making stuffed crab with sautéed potatoes, grilled salmon and fine red wine." "Say magnifique," Choji declared as he licked his lips. "Everything will be perfect for His Majesty's guest. I have heard through some of the servants that she is really pretty." "Is it true?" Choji asked as Lee listened intently to the conversation about Hinata. "She is very beautiful, kind of a one-of-a-kind beauty. Prince Naruto is gonna have to protect her from being a character in Lord Jiraiya's books," Kakashi said with a chuckle, and Choji joined in on the laugh. Lee smiled inwardly. If everyone thinks Princess Hinata is beautiful, then Prince Naruto must as well. Lee thought happily. "Well, I'll leave you to your cooking." Kakashi closed the door as he left. Choji continued his humming. "Chopped off their heads, skin them, gut them, and rub some salt in their bellies cause it makes them taste nice." Choji sang what he was doing to the salmon. Lee watched his fellow fish friends being mutilated with a sick feeling in his stomach. "This is certainly not youthful. I feel like I am about to throw up," Lee cried in his thoughts. Choji happened to look at the floor and spotted Lee. "What is this?" Choji asked out loud to no one in particular when he brought Lee up to his face to inspect him better. Lee used his claws to pinch Choji's nose in order to get Choji to let go of him, which he did. Choji began wildly chasing Lee around the kitchen with a huge knife. "Get back here, main course." Lee ran even faster from the knife-happy man. The whole kitchen was being destroyed during the chase. Lee managed to escape from Choji's psychotic pursuit of him. Kakashi came in to see Choji under a table screaming that he will get the crab. "Choji!" Kakashi yelled to bring the young man back to reality. "Oh, Kakashi, how are you?" Choji asked sheepishly. "Is dinner ready?" "Yeah, it's on the cart over there." Choji pointed to the only thing that was not destroyed during the whole chase. "Oh, by the way, Choji, the tip of your hair is on fire," Kakashi said uninterested as he pushed the cart through the door. Choji licked his thumb and index finger and used them to put out the tiny flame that formed on the tip of his brown hair. Naruto looked out the large window in the dining room that looked out over the ocean. He sighed. He was thinking about the girl who saved him. Iruka came up behind him. "If you want my opinion, I think you should forget about that girl. She obviously does not want to be found. I can't stop thinking about her. I am not going to give up. I know she is out there, and I will find her. When I do, I am going to marry her. Believe it," Naruto answered while still looking at the ocean. "Oh, I think you will change your mind about that," Iruka stated with a knowing tone in his voice. "What makes you say that?" Naruto could not finish his sentence because he was too busy gaping at the beautiful woman who came into his view. Hinata had on an elegant light blue dress that brought out her almost violet hair and lavender eyes. Her hair was sleek and straight and had a pearl pin holding part of it back. She looked very beautiful with a faint blush on her cheeks, and Naruto could not stop staring. Iruka came up near his ear and whispered. "That's why." This made Naruto regain his composure and pray that the girl did not notice him staring at her. "Hello, miss, you will have to excuse Prince Naruto. He is not used to dining with a beauty such as yourself." Hinata blushed even more with Iruka's comment. "I believe I have not introduced myself. I am Iruka, Naruto's caretaker. I hope you enjoy your stay in Konoha Kingdom." Iruka greeted as he bowed. Hinata curtsied. "Why don't we sit down?" But Iruka has a point. "You do look really beautiful tonight," Naruto said with a faint blush on his own cheeks as he guided Hinata to the chair across from where he will sit. Hinata tried to hide the neon red blush that was now blatantly present on her face. As they sat at the mahogany table waiting for Kakashi to bring out the dinner, Iruka decided to make some conversation. "Prince Naruto, why don't you show her around the kingdom tomorrow? I bet she would love to see it." "Good idea, Iruka, so what do you say? Would you like to go on a date with me tomorrow?" Naruto said with a foxy grin on his face. Hinata smiled and nodded her head furiously. Alright, Iruka, clear my schedule for tomorrow, I got a date. Naruto declared enthusiastically as Kakashi brought dinner to them. Chef Choji hopes you enjoy the stuffed crab, Kakashi said as he put each tray of the delicious-smelling dinner in front of each of the people sitting at the table. After he set the dinner, Kakashi left. Well, if Choji made this, then you know it's good. Right, Iruka. Naruto said as Iruka uncovered his own dinner. Hinata looked at Iruka's dinner to see Lee sitting on Iruka's plate. Lee put his claw up to his mouth to shush Hinata from causing a commotion. Hinata lifted her own tray and beckoned Lee to hide there. Lee ran across the table and slid into Hinata's plate before Naruto looked over her way. She put on an innocent face as Naruto talked to her. Okay, so I wanna take you to this awesome ramen place. It is my favorite place to get ramen. You good with that? Hinata nodded her head in excitement. Alright, well, let's eat before this crab walks off my plate. Iruka looked down to see that there was no crab on his plate. Hinata sighed as Lee got out of her tray and hid in the sash of her dress. After dinner, Hinata was looking out of her balcony admiring Naruto playing with Kyuubi. His azure eyes held such excitement and happiness that Hinata could not help but smile as she looked at them. Naruto felt that someone was watching him, and looked up towards Hinata's room. His eyes met with her, and she shyly waved at him, and he returned the wave. He kept looking at her eyes that seemed to hold the essence of the sea in them until she turned to go to inside her room. Okay, so you are going on a date with him. You got to be youthful. You have to pucker up your lips like this. Lee demonstrated how to pucker her lips up. You got to bat your eyes like this. Again he demonstrated how to bat her eyes. Hinata was very tired, so she was not really listening to the advice Lee was giving her. She plopped herself in the bed and fell asleep. Lee was about to continue with his advice when he saw she fell asleep. Lee sighed before pushing aside a stray strand of her hair. Rest up, Princess Hinata, tomorrow is going to be a busy day for all of us. Good night and sweet dreams, Lee said as he turned off the lights and curled up on Hinata's pillow. Golden comb went through Hinata's hair as Kakashi prepared her for her date with Naruto. Hinata smiled with excitement, but at the same time her mind was racing. What if he doesn't like? How am I going to get Naruto to kiss me? What will Kakashi have me wear? Wonder what that book he always reads is about. Kakashi finished brushing Hinata's hair and went into the closet to find her a dress to wear. Hinata sat patiently until Kakashi came out with a simple lavender spaghetti-strapped sundress that flared out right above the knees. I think this will look really amazing on you, and will have Prince Naruto eating out of the palm of your hands. Now, go put this on so you can get going on your date. Hinata smiled as she took the dress from Kakashi's hands and ran into the bathroom to get changed. Kakashi smiled under his mask as he watched the young girl hurry to get changed. Hinata came out of the bathroom, after a few minutes, in the dress looking very cute. Kakashi couldn't help but smile when she saw how her face lit up when she saw what she looked like in the mirror. Now don't you look adorable? Come on, let's not keep Prince Naruto waiting, Kakashi said as he opened the door for her. Prince Naruto, I think you should wear this blue shirt with these nice black slacks, Iruka suggested as he pulled out said clothing. How about the orange shirt with those pants instead? Prince Naruto asked. Iruka sighed as he grabbed the orange shirt Naruto asked for. A huge smile spread across his face as he changed into his date clothes. Excited for your date? Iruka asked. Naruto finished buttoning his orange shirt up before answering his advisor. Yeah, I am, but, well, Naruto began nervously rubbing the back of his head. Iruka smiled at the young prince's nervousness. I guess you're nervous, right? Yeah, this is my first date without any political pressure, and I get to act like a normal guy going on a date with a normal girl. I have no idea what to do. Iruka, help me, Naruto cried as he grabbed onto Iruka's collar in desperation. Iruka began laughing very hard. Tears from laughing so hard started to form in Iruka's eyes. Naruto let go of Iruka's collar to allow the man to regain himself. I am sorry, Prince Naruto, it is just I have never seen you like this. Not to worry, Prince, I will give you some tips. Well, aside from taking her to dinner, you should take her on a carriage ride, and a boat ride on the lake near that big weeping willow tree. It is pretty romantic there. That's good, what else? Naruto asked, absorbing all the information Iruka was giving to him. You should take her dancing. Iruka replied excitedly. Dancing. Naruto censored his head. Yes, dancing. Sweep her off her feet with your moves. Like so. Iruka grabbed Naruto and began to dance with him to prove his point. They began waltzing around the room. They were doing that for a few minutes before Kakashi came into the room and stood there watching his prince and the prince's caretaker dancing with each other. He was tempted to call in Naruto's date so he could fully embarrass Naruto, but decided against it. Although he decided to mess with Naruto, how could he let this opportunity go by? Well, Prince Naruto, if you want to go on a date with Iruka, you can, but what will I tell the beautiful girl that is waiting for you? I guess I'll just go on the date with her, Kakashi said as he started walking out the door of Naruto's room when Naruto let go of Iruka and blocked Kakashi's way out. No, it's okay. I'll go on the date with her, Naruto cried as he waved his hands in front of him. Kakashi smirked at Naruto. Alright, here I go. Thanks for the advice, Iruka, Naruto yelled as he walked out the door to meet up with his date. So how do you think he will do? Iruka asked. Kakashi walked up to him and chuckled. Oh, he will make a fool out of himself, but then again he is the #1 unpredictable prince in all the land. He just might be able to pull this off, Kakashi answered with smirk on his face. Iruka laughed at Kakashi's answer before going to say goodbye to the prince and his date. Kakashi and Iruka walked out into the hallway to see Naruto looking at the doorway. Prince Naruto, what is the matter? Iruka looked to the door to see a pale beauty in a lavender sundress smiling with a vibrant blush on her cheeks due to all the people staring at her. Oh, I see. Prince, you should get going. Even though staring at her is nice, you'll waste the whole day. Naruto smiled sheepishly before grabbing Hinata's hand and running towards the carriage to go to town in. Naruto and Hinata went all around the town, but of course Naruto needed to make a stop at his favorite ramen restaurant where old man Chuki and his daughter Ayame were like family to Naruto. Hey there, what's your name? Ayame asked Hinata when she brought them their miso pork ramen. Hinata tried mouthing her name, but that was not working. Prince, is there something wrong with her voice? She lost her voice due to the traumatic shipwreck, so she hasn't talked since I found her, Naruto answered the brown-haired girl. Ayame looked sad after discovering that little tidbit. Oh well, I hope your voice returns soon. Ayame wished her luck before going into the kitchen to help her father with cooking. You and me both, Ayame. I really want to have my voice back so I can actually talk to Naruto, Hinata thought as she ate some of the noodles from her ramen dish. Naruto ate his ramen in an almost inhuman way. Naruto sheepishly smiled at her when he realized how he was eating. Hinata laughed a little and grabbed a ramen noodle out of Naruto's sun-kissed hair. He laughed a little before paying for his and his date's food. He led his date to their next destination, the fair. The fair was vibrant with life and color. It was overwhelming even for Naruto. Hinata enjoyed it with her typical shy curiosity. She clung onto Naruto's arm in a cute manner that had Naruto fighting to contain his blush. Her lavender eyes looked around curiously until her eyes stopped on a couple dancing. The way the man twirled his partner around and dipped her enchanted Hinata. Hinata became mesmerized with their movements and stared at them until Naruto noticed where her gaze went, and smiled. Would you like to dance? He flashed a genuine smile at her. Hinata nodded her head slowly as the blue-eyed prince led her to the dance floor. He held her right hand in his and placed his hand on her left hip and led her in a waltz. They were dancing magnificently. She was a little shaky at first since she had never danced before, but she soon felt the rhythm of the music and got the hang of it. Hinata was too shy to look up at Naruto, so she stared at the very interesting floor. Lee, who hid in the carriage, sat and watched the two dance. He sat near the ocean stream and Sakura came to the surface to check up on Lee and Hinata. So have they kissed yet? The pink-haired mermaid asked the youthful crab. Not yet, Lee answered a bit sadly. Sakura looked over just in time to see Hinata brave a look at Naruto. Naruto had been staring at Hinata, so when she looked at him he blushed and gave her his famous smile, which made Hinata almost faint. Sakura and Lee let out a united sigh. If she doesn't kiss him soon, well, bad things will happen. Tell her to get a move on it, Sakura said to Lee. Don't worry, their date is not over yet, so she'll have plenty of opportunities to get the kiss. My youthful self will make sure of it," Lee cried as he smiled with his gleaming teeth. Sakura rolled her eyes before going back down into the water. After they danced their feet off, he took her on a carriage ride around the countryside. Naruto started showing off his carriage driving skills just to see her reaction to the crazy stunts he was doing. She held on tight to the sides of the carriage with each sharp turn Naruto did for his tricks. Naruto started to speed up in order to get some air so they could make it across the crevice. When they were in the air, Hinata grabbed onto Naruto and squeezed her eyes shut in fear, but Naruto was able to make it across, barely. After showing off his carriage riding skills, he rode the carriage to the lake that Iruka suggested before just as night fell. Naruto pushed the small rowboat off the dock and started rowing him and Hinata around the lake. Sarutobi came in flying and landed right next to Lee, who was sitting on a rock watching the couple awkwardly sitting thinking of how to do the next move. "So any kissing yet?" Sarutobi asked Lee. "No, not yet," Lee answered. "What do you mean, not yet?" Neji asked as he surfaced along with Sakura. "He has to kiss her sooner. Or Orochimaru owns her." "Yeah, we know, Neji. We just need to do something to help her," Sakura interrupted. "I have an idea," Sarutobi said as he flew to the top of a tree where Hinata saw him. He cleared his throat and began to sing. Rather, he began to sound like a drunken man trying to sing Free Bird while be drowned in the ocean. Everyone covered their ears in order to block out the horrible sound coming from Sarutobi. "It sounds like someone should put that animal out of its misery," Naruto declared, still covering his ears. Hinata winced in pain as she gave a pleading look to Sarutobi to stop his horrible singing. Sakura threw a piece of coral at Sarutobi that knocked him out cold. Sakura smirked at her accomplishment. "I have an idea, and I can guarantee that it will be better than what Sarutobi did. First, we got to set the mood," Neji said as he broke off a piece of a reed to make it into a conducting stick. He swam over to the turtles. Percussion. A turtle flipped over another turtle in order to use their underside as a drum, and began playing a Caribbean soft beat. Neji smiled in approval before swimming over to the grasshoppers and crickets. Strings. The crickets and grasshoppers began to play their famous music. Winds. Just as he said that, a gust of wind blew into the reeds, creating a harmonic accompaniment to the other musical sections playing. Words. Neji said as he cleared his throat to sing. "There you see her, sitting there across the way. She don't got a lot to say. But there is something about her. And you don't know why. But you're dying to try. You wanna kiss the girl." Naruto scanned the entire lake before turning to face Hinata with a confused look on his face. "Did you hear something?" She shrugged her shoulders, though she knew full well that it was Neji singing. "All right, Neji, I hope this works," Hinata thought hopefully. "Yes, you want her. Look at her, you know you do. It's possible she wants you too. There is one way to ask her. It don't take a word. Not a single word. Go on and kiss the girl." Naruto leaned to kiss Hinata, but pulled back after a second thought. Hinata looked discouraged. Sakura signaled for Neji to kick it up a notch. Neji stuck his head under the water to call all the sea creatures to sing with me now. All the fish, frogs, birds, seals, crabs, turtles, and Sakura joined in with Neji for the next part. "Sha la 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 la. My oh my, looks like the boy's too shy. Ain't gonna kiss the girl. Sha la 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 la. Ain't that sad? It's such a shame. Too bad. You're gonna miss the girl. Go on and kiss the girl." Naruto looked at Hinata, and he almost leaned in to kiss her, but decided to do something else. "You know, I don't know your name, so I am gonna guess it, okay?" Hinata nodded her head to indicate she understood. "Let's see, is it Megumi?" Hinata winced in disgust. "Okay, how about Yumi?" Hinata stuck out her tongue, which made Naruto laugh. "Hikari." Hinata simply shook her head no. Naruto got into a thinking pose, so he did not notice the youthful crab climbing near his ear. "Hinata. Her name is Hinata," Lee whispered into Naruto's ear to help the poor guy figure out the mute maiden's name. "Hinata," Naruto whispered loud enough that Hinata heard it. She nodded her head enthusiastically. She never imagined hearing her name would sound so good, especially when Naruto says it. "Hinata. That's really pretty. Means sunny place, right?" Hinata nodded again. "It suits you. I like it." Hinata. Naruto said as he held her hand. He kept repeating her name in his mind. He did not truly understand why, but that name was the most beautiful name to him. The boat drifted towards the huge willow tree and two flamingos used their beaks to pull aside some branches in order for the rowboat to enter. Neji continued singing. Now's your moment, floating in a blue lagoon. Boy, you better do it soon. No time will be better. She don't say a word. And she won't say a word. Until you kiss the girl. Sha la 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 la. My oh my, looks like the boy's too shy. Ain't gonna kiss the girl. Sha la 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 la. Ain't that sad? It's such a shame. Too bad. You're gonna miss the girl. Sha la 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 la. Don't be scared. You better be prepared. Go on and kiss the girl. Sha la la la. Don't stop now. Don't try to hide as how. You wanna kiss the girl. The whole time Neji was singing, Naruto was shifting uncomfortably. He could not deny that he really wanted to kiss Hinata. He actually wanted to kiss Hinata more than anything, but doing what the song was saying was easier said than done. However, Naruto looked into the lavender eyes filled with love and peace that he could not stop himself. He began leaning in towards Hinata, who in turn leaned in as well. All the creatures were on the edge of their seats, each one singing over and over again. Kiss the girl. Naruto closed his eyes as did Hinata when their lips were about to touch. Sakura began biting her nails in anticipation. Neji was choking the unconscious Sarutobi out of anticipation, and Lee was going on about how the bloom of youth was working its magic on the couple. Just as their eyes closed and their lips were mere centimeters apart, the boat capsized. Naruto and Hinata were flung into the blue waters of the lake. All the sea creatures let out a sigh of disappointment and began heading home. Sakura looked sadly at her friend. She was so close. What the hell happened? Sakura thought as she looked at Neji. Just the look on his face showed that he was thinking the exact same thing as she was. They both left for the ocean, as it was they were gone from their search parties long enough, and no doubt Hiyashi had noticed. Lee slowly swam over to where Naruto was helping Hinata out of the water and apologizing about the capsized boat. Oh, that was a close one, wasn't it, Sasuke-kun? Kabuto asked. The two eels were about 2 feet away from the boat. Sasuke grunted. Big shocker there. Good thing we made the boat capsized before they kissed. Otherwise all of Orochimaru's hard work would have been for waste. The two swam to Orochimaru's lair. They were going to tell him what happened, but he already knew because he used the spell that allowed him to see through their eyes. He was furious. That little slut almost got him to kiss her. She is good. Too good. I will have to intervene. Orochimaru ranted as he began to throw bottles of ingredients into the cauldron-looking coral. Kabuto watched with sick amazement while Sasuke rolled his eel eyes. Well, how do you plan to stop her? There is no doubt he'll be kissing her by tomorrow, so what are you going to do? Let me guess, you are going to use Hinata voice to put the boy under a spell, and then transform yourself into a girl to marry the boy so Hinata can't. Sasuke sarcastically said. However, Orochimaru's face lit up and a sick smile crept across his face. Almost. Sasuke-kun, what I am going to do is send someone else with Hinata's voice to marry Naruto, who will be under a spell. Orochimaru evilly replied, tapping his tentacles together as his sick mind began to plot. Who are you sending, Orochimaru-sama? Kabuto asked in a censored-up kind of way. You will see, Orochimaru said as he continued putting more ingredients in the cauldron. Sasuke shivered, thinking he figured out who he was going to send. There is no way you are transforming me and sending me to do this. Sasuke yelled with killer intent laced in every word. Orochimaru simply laughed. Well, there goes that idea. Thank you, Sasuke-kun, but I have another idea. I will be sending a girl. You will have to just wait and see who. Orochimaru replied mysteriously as he filled a bottle with his new potion. He walked over to a cell he had in his lair. Here you go, my dear, this will make you beautiful, and take this shell. It will give you power over the prince, he said as he took off the golden shell necklace that contained Hinata's voice. Thank you, Orochimaru-sama, I will not fail you. A female voice said before taking the shell necklace from Orochimaru's hand and drinking the potion he had given her. Orochimaru left laughing at what is to come. The girl drank the potion and an ominous smoke began to emerge from where the girl is standing. She began to sing with her new set of pipes as her shadowy figure emerged. Oh her, HN. Good choice, for once in his life, Orochimaru made a good choice. Sasuke said as he swam away. The blonde prince took a walk outside of the castle enjoying the night sky and sea air. He went to the brick gate that looked over the ocean. Naruto pulled out his flute to begin playing the intoxicating melody that the girl who saved him sung 2 days ago. He heard some rustling coming from a window of the castle. Naruto looked up to see Hinata looking out the window with a look of longing in her eyes as she stared at the immense sea. She stood there for quite some time, and the entire time she was there Naruto was staring at her. He was amazed by how the full moon's light glinted off her milky skin, how her lavender eyes seemed to hold all the emotion of the ocean in them, how she placed her right elbow on the balcony while her right hand was under her chin holding her head up, and how she has a light blush on her face. Naruto soaked her in her until he heard her sigh and go into her room to get some sleep. Naruto looked down at the flute he was playing moments ago and realized that his heart was trying to tell him something, that she is the one. Forget about some mysterious girl, Hinata is the one for me. He clutched the flute and winded up his arm to throw the flute with as much force as he could muster into the ocean. Naruto smiled at his accomplishment. He looked up at where Hinata was just standing before making his way inside, but as he turned to go inside, he heard a girl singing. The girl was walking on the beach with a glowing gold shell necklace around her neck. Naruto looked at her curiously before he felt this strange feeling come over him. It was like he was losing control of his body. He felt like he was under a spell, and he was not happy about it. Congratulations! Sarutobi shrilled as he flew in through Hinata's opened balcony window. Lee woke up with a start, but was perky unlike the groggy Hinata. Hinata let out a cute yawn as she stretched her arms out, and rubbed the sleep out of her eyes. What are you talking about? Lee asked curiously. Sarutobi looked at him like he grew a second head. Didn't you hear? Prince Naruto is getting married today. Congratulations, kid, I knew you had it in you. Sarutobi cried while shaking Hinata's hand. Hinata was confused. Prince Naruto getting married? To who? Wait, married? That means, today is my wedding day. Hinata thought excitedly as she jumped out of bed and ran towards the mirror to fix up her hair. Once she was satisfied, she picked up Lee and gave him a very grateful kiss. She bolted out of her room, down the hallway, and ran down the staircase to see Naruto all dressed up with a girl Hinata had never seen before hanging off his arm talking to Iruka, Kakashi, Tsunade, and Jiraiya. Well, I guess you were right, Prince Naruto, your mystery girl really does exist. Iruka said shocked. So what's your name? Kakashi asked the girl. The girl had big brown eyes, long dark pink hair, and she had a bang that came right between her eyes. She wore a simple black dress that made her golden shell necklace stick out. To Yuya, she answered almost caustically. I can tell already that I don't like her. Kakashi thought as he shot a wary glance to Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Iruka who were obviously thinking the same thing. We wish to be married as soon as possible, so I trust you all have arranged everything. Naruto said with no emotion. That worried his advisors. They had never seen him like this. Was this even Naruto? Well, of course everything is ready, but do you want this? Tsunade asked Naruto. Of course not. Why the hell would I want to marry her? Okay, so I did before, but that was before I met Hinata. Come on, lips move the way I want you to. Say no. Naruto conscious screamed in his head, but to no avail. The spell over him was too strong for him to break. Of course I do. What the hell am I saying? Oh, Hinata, I did not see you standing there. Jiraiya said, hoping that seeing Hinata would make Naruto realize his mistake in marrying to Yuya. In the 3 days Hinata had been with them, she had won over everyone's heart. Although she never spoke, her actions and her expressions spoke volumes. Everyone faced Hinata who had heard the whole thing. She tried to hold back tears, but she let a couple slip down her cheeks. Yuya turned to face Hinata with a smirk on her face. Hinata, if you could hear my thoughts, please know that I don't want her. I want Yo. Naruto was ripped from his thoughts when Yuya spoke. Now if you excuse me, all I have to get ready for my wedding. Yuya put emphasis on my wedding when she walked past Hinata. Naruto turned to leave to get ready for his wedding when he felt 2 hands clasp around his. He turned to see Hinata shaking his hand in a congratulatory fashion, but when she looked up at him, she was holding back tears that threatened to fall and such a fake smile plastered on her face. Hinata, Naruto thought as he told his hand to pull her into him so he could hug her, kiss her, and tell her he would never marry Yuya when he has her, but his hand would not listen. Hinata let go of his hand and watched him leave to get ready. She felt like breaking down right then and there. Tsunade put a comforting hand on Hinata's shoulder. If it makes you feel better, we like you better, and we were so sure Naruto was going to marry you. Tsunade said before ushering the others out, so they could prepare for the wedding. Hinata sadly went up to her room to get changed, and tried to enjoy her last day as a human. It was almost sundown and Hinata had spent her whole day moping. She watched from the docks as Prince Naruto's guests, advisors, maid, caretaker, his future bride, Kyuubi, and Prince Naruto sail away on the boat he was to be married on. Hinata began to cry all the tears her broken heart wanted. Lee stroked her with his claw in an attempt to soothe her, but even he was feeling very unyouthful. He was so sure Naruto had fallen for Hinata, but alas he is marrying someone else. Sakura and Neji surfaced near the dock where Hinata and Lee were moping. So, what's the progress? Sakura asked, but from the looks on their faces, she could tell that it did not work out. He is getting married, Lee answered. Neji looked at him then to Hinata. He is getting married, but Hinata is right here. As if reading Neji's mind, Lee continued. He is marrying some Yuya girl. In other words, it is over. Neji replied sadly. Everyone let out a sad sigh. Sarutobi was flying towards the ship, still thinking that it was Hinata's wedding he was heading to. He found an open window on the side of the ship where someone was singing. It sounded like Hinata. The seagull flew near the window to get a better look and saw Yuya singing to the mirror on her vanity. What a lovely little bride I make. Dear, all look divine. Everything is going according to your ultimate design. Soon you'll have that little mermaid. And the ocean will be yours. Ha ha ha. Sarutobi gulped as Yuya laughed menacingly. It seems you like that voice of yours. Someone said. The voice seemed to be coming from the mirror. Why yes I am. I love this plan of yours. You get the ocean and I get killer looks, an awesome voice, and a hot prince. I am content. Yuya answered the person in the mirror. Sarutobi angled himself so he could see who it was talking to Yuya. What he saw completely surprised him. It was Orochimaru, the sea witch. Sarutobi gasped as he flew towards the castle in hopes of finding Hinata to tell her what he had just learned. He spotted Hinata, Lee, Neji, and Sakura at the dock so he went in for a landing. Sarutobi, what are you going? Sakura asked as the crazy seagull landed. Sarutobi took a couple of seconds to catch his breath before answering the bubblegum-haired mermaid. Well I was flying. Well of course I was flying. I heard Hinata's voice singing coming from the ship. It was the sea witch. Okay well the girl was talking to the sea witch, but still, Sarutobi explained between gasps of air. Neji looked at Sarutobi incredulously, but saw how Hinata started to stand up and look at the sunset. I still have time before the sun sets. Alright here goes everything, Hinata thought as she jumped into the ocean and struggled to keep afloat. Neji immediately jumped into action. Okay, Sakura, take Hinata to the ship as fast as you can. Neji commanded. You got it, the pink mermaid exclaimed as she went over to Hinata, and the two began to swim as fast as they could towards the boat. I am going to go find King Hiashi. Lee, you come with me, Neji said as he began to get ready to plunge into the ocean. Lee jumped onto Neji's shoulder signifying he was in. Wait, what am I supposed to do? Sarutobi asked. He was not going to be left out of this one. Do whatever it takes to stall that wedding. Neji cried as he went to go find King Hiashi in the depths of the blue ocean. Okay, time to stall the wedding. Sarutobi yelled as he called his animal friends with his bird call. Flamingos, seals, birds, seagulls, dolphins, and whatever other sea creature Kakashi stood beside Iruka as they put the finishing touches on Naruto's tuxedo. He looked at Naruto's cold emotionless expression, which was so unlike him. Kakashi could tell that Iruka was worried as well. Who wouldn't be? The Hyper Prince was always full of life and energy, but here he was so quiet and serious. I thought he would have more emotion when he was going to get married, but I have seen doorposts with more emotion than him. Kakashi thought as he began reading his Ika tactics. Alright, Prince Naruto, you are all ready for the wedding, but are you sure? You don't seem like you really want to marry her, Iruka said, trying to see if he could reason with Naruto one final time. Of course I don't, but my body won't listen to me. Naruto's thoughts cried, but yet again his body defied him. Of course, now let's go. The ceremony will be starting soon, Naruto said as he walked out and headed down the aisle to wait for his future bride. Kyuubi growled. He was not happy about his master marrying some wrench, so he decided he would ruin something in order to stop the wedding in hopes that Naruto would come to his senses, but just as he was about to, Kakashi knelt down beside him. Yeah, I know how you feel, Kyuubi, but there is nothing we can do. Prince Naruto really seems to want to marry this girl, so we will just have to accept it. Oh, here comes the wrench now, Kakashi said to Kyuubi as Tayuya came down the aisle with a bouquet of lilies in her hands. Her dress was very extravagant. There were so many designs that took away from the dress, and from Tayuya herself. Many of the guests wondered why she would even think to wear such a thing. When Tayuya passed Kyuubi, he let out a dangerous growl. Tayuya glared at him before kicking him in the face. Poor Kyuubi whimpered in pain as Kakashi sent the girl a death glare. Jiraiya helped the very old minister get to the podium so they could start the wedding. Once the minister was in his spot, everyone sat down, and Jiraiya sat down next to Tsunade. They both sent each other looks of complete dread. This was it. They were going to get a horrible princess to rule their kingdom. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to. The old minister went through the whole ceremony and was just about to go into the I do's part. Tayuya smirked as she saw the sun just about to set. Everything is going perfectly, she thought sinisterly as she turned her attention back to the minister. Do you, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Prince of Konoha, take Tayuya to be your lawfully wedded wife for as long as you both shall live? No, of course not, Naruto thought, but he already knew the outcome. I do, his body said robotically. And do you, Tayuya, take Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze? After that, everything the old minister was saying was completely drowned out by the chaotic outbreak. Sarutobi lead his animal army onto the ship. Tayuya barely dodged a swarm of birds coming at her with their beaks set to pierce. She smiled, but then saw they made a U-turn and were coming around again. This time, however, they went under her dress, causing her to scream. The rest of the sea creatures got on the boat and were causing as much chaos as they could. Kyuubi was so excited. He wanted to be a part of the action, but Kakashi held him steady. Pelicans with their mouths filled with water dumped water on Tayuya despite her protests. The minister kept on going with the vows while Naruto stood unmoving at the altar. On the inside, Naruto was laughing so hard that if he was not under the influence of the spell, he would have been on the floor laughing until tears came to his eyes. Actually, Jiraiya and Tsunade were doing just that. Iruka's mouth was agape, but he made no move to help Tayuya from the onslaught of sea creatures' attacks. In fact, he rather enjoyed them, as did Kakashi. Some seals decided to play catch with Tayuya's body as they blonked her on their noses and tossed her around. Tayuya was screaming her head off the entire time. Unbeknownst to everyone, Sakura had just arrived with Hinata, who was slowly making her way onto the deck of the ship. Hang on, Naruto, Hinata thought. The seals threw her to the dolphins, whom sprayed her with some water. Tayuya was fed up. Sarutobi shrilled into her face with as much lung power as he could muster. Why, you little, Tayuya yelled as she began to strangle Sarutobi. At that moment, Hinata finally made her way onto the deck of the ship, and was now watching the chaos unfold in front of her. Kakashi noticed that the leash Kyuubi was on order of Tayuya to put him on was breaking. After a few more tugs from Kyuubi, the leash broke, and set free the revenge-seeking fox. Oh no, Kyuubi got off his leash. Look out, Tayuya, he is going to bite you. Someone stop him, Kakashi said with absolutely no urgency in his voice as he watched Kyuubi head over to his target. Sarutobi had his beak under the golden shell, and was trying to break the chain that was keeping it around Tayuya's neck. Kyuubi decided now was the perfect time to strike. He opened his mouth to show his sharp canines and bit down hard on Tayuya's butt. Tayuya screamed in pain as she jerked her head back, which helped Sarutobi snap the chain and send the shell flying towards the ground in front of Hinata. The golden shell shattered into thousands of little pieces across the deck. Naruto shook his head as he was finally free of the spell. He turned, along with everyone else, to face Hinata. A small golden globe of light swirled out of the broken shell, singing the intoxicating song Naruto heard 3 days ago. The ball of light went into Hinata's voice box as she finished the last note. She smiled when her voice had returned to her. I never realized how much I missed it, she thought as a joyous Kyuubi ran up to her and licked her. Hi, Kyuubi, I'm glad to see you too, Hinata said, relishing in her own voice. Naruto stood there dumbstruck. Hinata had the most beautiful voice when she spoke, and when she sung. That would mean that. Hinata, you can talk now, Naruto asked, still dumbstruck. Kyuubi just rolled his eyes at his master's slowness. Hinata giggled at the fox as she continued to pet it. Yes, I can, Naruto. Hinata slightly blushed when she said his name. Naruto stared at her for a few seconds. He loved the way his name sounded when she said it. He smiled, finally realizing that Hinata was the girl who saved him 3 days ago. You're the one that saved me from that shipwreck, weren't you? Naruto asked as he approached Hinata, who stood up with a blush clearly displayed on her face. I tried to tell you, Naruto, but I couldn't because I didn't have my voice, and Hinata was interrupted by Naruto's arms suddenly enveloping her. Her face turned into neon red. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Iruka, and Kakashi were all watching the scene with utter happiness. This is the way it should be, Tsunade said to them. All of them nodded in complete agreement. Hinata buried her head into Naruto's chest happily, but felt a gentle touch on her chin. Naruto began to lift her head up as he leaned in to give her the kiss he wanted to give her so badly. Hinata closed her eyes waiting for the feel of his lips on hers, but instead felt a sudden pain in her legs. Ah! She screamed in agony as she slipped out of Naruto's grasp. Naruto stared at her in shock when he saw her beautiful pale legs turn into a lavender mermaid's tail. Hinata looked at Naruto helplessly. She is a mermaid, Naruto thought in complete shock, but the fact that she was a mermaid did not diminish his feelings towards her. He was going to kneel next to her and kiss her when he heard a witch-like shrill. You're too late, Chiyuya yelled as she transformed into an ugly half-human half-octopus thing. Chiyuya sent her tentacles to wrap around Hinata's waist as she laughed evilly at the frightened people watching helplessly. Just before she jumped overboard with Hinata, she turned to Naruto, who was seething with anger. So long, lover boy. Then she jumped. Naruto. Hinata cried before plunging into the dark depths of the ocean, that no longer felt welcoming. Hinata. Hang on, Hinata. Naruto cried as he watched her being taken further down into the ocean waves. There was only one thing on his mind, he had to save her no matter what. Chiyuya pulled Hinata towards the direction of Orochimaru's lair as fast as she could. When she was almost there, Orochimaru and his 2 eel lackeys approached them. Chiyuya smiled brightly as she presented Hinata to Orochimaru like she was some sort of grand prize. Orochimaru allowed an evil smirk to creep up on his face. Good job, Chiyuya, but I will no longer be in need your services, Orochimaru stated as he took Hinata from Chiyuya. Chiyuya censored her head to the side in confusion. What do you mean, Orochimaru-sama? She asked with confusion in her tone, but as soon as those words were uttered, Chiyuya turned into kelp and her kelp parts fell to the ground. Hinata stared at the pile of kelp in complete unadulterated horror. How could he do that to one of his followers? Oh, Hinata, what have you gotten yourself into? That is what I mean, Chiyuya. Now for you, Princess Hinata, and don't worry, I won't turn you into kelp. I'll just turn you into a plant of some kind. Orochimaru let out a sick laughter, but his laughter was cut short by Hiyashi's trident's yellow blast of power that barely missed Orochimaru. Oh, King Hiyashi, it is good to see you. Orochimaru, release my daughter and I will spare you. Hiyashi threatened with authority and power behind every word. Neji had a "you better freaking listen to him" look on his face as he came to Hiyashi's right side. Lee landed on Neji's shoulder with a "power of youth shall defeat you" look as he sent that look towards Orochimaru. I'm so scared, Orochimaru cried in a mocking anime schoolgirl style. Kabuto copied Orochimaru while Sasuke swam away. He did not want to be associated with them anymore, would you? Closing parenthesis. Orochimaru snapped his fingers and an eerie gold light began to swirl around Hinata, slowly turning her into a plant creature thing you know from the movie. I have no idea what they are called. Hiashi shot another energy blast from his trident, but Orochimaru blocked it with the legally binding contract Hinata had signed to get her legs. This contract is completely binding, even you can't do anything about it. However, I have always prided myself in having an eye for a good trade. Sadly, what is more valuable than the princess of the seven seas? Take me instead, Hiashi answered. Daddy, no, don't do it. Hinata called out, even though she was dangerously close to becoming the plant thing. Hiashi looked at his daughter before using the trident to replace her name with his on the contract. The second he completed signing his name, the eerie gold light that swirled around Hinata shifted over to swirl around King Hiashi, and in a matter of seconds had him turned into a plant. Hinata swam over to her father, choking out apologies between her sobs. Orochimaru took the trident and Hiashi's crown that had fallen to the ground when Hiashi transformed. You monster! Sakura yelled as she attacked Orochimaru from behind. Neji and Lee went to aid her, but Orochimaru used the power of the trident to lock Sakura, Neji, and Lee in a jail cell made of coral. He then turned his attention to Hinata. Now, it is time to end this, Orochimaru stated as he pointed the trident at Hinata, preparing to unleash a deadly blow. A spear whizzed past Orochimaru, slicing his arm. Orochimaru growled as he turned to see where the spear came from. Hinata shifted her position to get a better look at her rescuer. He has sun-kissed blonde hair, beautiful sapphire eyes, and an awesome physique. The mermaid princess instantly recognized the hero as the object of her affections. Naruto, you need to get out of here, Hinata yelled, and the blonde complied due to lack of oxygen. Orochimaru was not going to let the brat get away with cutting his arm, so he pointed the trident at the swimming Naruto. Hinata gasped and quickly heckled Orochimaru from behind, making the energy blast, which was meant for Naruto, hit the unsuspecting Kabuto. The blast turned Kabuto into teeny tiny eel parts. Orochimaru seethed with anger about having killed Kabuto, so he began to use the trident's power to make himself into a giant. Hinata surfaced right next to Naruto, who upon seeing her pulled her into a tight hug. Hinata blushed profusely at her love holding her so close to him. Naruto pulled away with a foxy grin on his face. You know, clam bras hurt when they are pressed against you. Naruto chuckled as he rubbed his chest where Hinata's clam bra dug into him. Ah, sorry, Hinata said as she looked down, ashamed that she hurt Naruto. Naruto let out another laugh before pulling her into the same crushing hug as before. But, I don't mind it, Naruto whispered into Hinata's ear, causing her to blush and almost faint. All of a sudden a giant piece of crown split the two apart. They held onto the crown they were on for dear life as it went higher into the air. Naruto extended his hand out to Hinata, which she took, and they jumped down from the crown into the ocean. When they resurfaced they held onto each other with horror etched on their faces. Before them stood a giant Orochimaru. He let out an evil laugh as he used the trident's power to create a huge thunderstorm. The previously calm waves began to turn violet. You pitiful fools, Orochimaru yelled as he sent his own tentacle towards Naruto and Hinata. Naruto pulled him and Hinata out of the way, narrowly missing the tentacle. Lightning began to crash with the loud thunder rolling in behind it. Orochimaru laughed as he brandished his newly acquired trident. Now I am the ruler of all the oceans. The waves obey my every whim. All the power of the seven seas is mine, Orochimaru bragged. Quit your bragging, no one cares, Naruto yelled tauntingly at Orochimaru. Orochimaru stared down Naruto, who was still holding onto Hinata protectively, afraid that if he let her go he might lose her for good. Orochimaru chuckled as he sent a huge tsunami towards the couple that forced them apart. Naruto, Hinata called as the wave took her in front of Orochimaru while the wave threw Naruto in the completely opposite direction. Hinata looked up at Orochimaru with fear as the crazed half-human half-octopus took his trident and began stirring the sea in a clockwise direction. Waves, bow to my power. The second Orochimaru commanded that, the area that he stirred turned into a deep whirlpool. The whirlpool was directly above the ship graveyard that Sakura and Hinata had visited before she even met Naruto. The strong currents of the whirlpool not only brought the sunken ships to the surface, but they also captured Hinata and brought her to the center of the whirlpool. The eye of the whirlpool was the ocean floor, so Hinata was on her hands and knees looking up at Orochimaru. The psychotic octopus saw his prey at the bottom of the huge whirlpool, and decided this was the perfect time for target practice. He raised his trident and began to send energy beams at the poor mermaid princess. The girl was having difficulties, but she was able to dodge the attacks without getting injured. Naruto was thrown under the once sunken ship, but he grabbed onto the rope and began pulling himself out of the water and onto the boat. He staggered towards the captain's wheel, but he made it without falling, much to his surprise. He saw that his newly commandeered ship was heading towards Orochimaru. Naruto realized that he could use this boat to his advantage, but how? Let me see, the ship's mast is down, but it's broken like a sword, that's it. I'll use the boat to ram the broken mast through the crazy octopus thing, and win. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, you deserve a ramen for that plan, or better yet, a kiss from Hinata. Oh yeah, oh damn you pervy advisor, look what you got me thinking now. Naruto thought as he turned the captain's wheel so that he could get the front of the ship to face Orochimaru. The boat was close to Orochimaru, and Naruto could see Orochimaru raise his trident as to give the final blow to something. Naruto looked at the center of the whirlpool and saw Hinata look up at Orochimaru in fear. Like hell am I going to let you kill Hinata? Naruto thought as he gave the boat a sharp turn. Orochimaru looked over at Naruto, but he was too late. Naruto rammed the sword-like mast through Orochimaru's body, skewering the crazed octopus. Orochimaru doubled over in pain as he let out a blood-curdling scream. He wrapped his tentacles around the ship and brought it down with him as he sunk to the bottom of the ocean, dead. The storm that he caused stopped, and the waves became calm again. The sun shone, and everything was at peace. Under the ocean all of Orochimaru's plant prisoners returned to normal, even King Hiashi whose trident and crown landed right next to him, so he put his crown back on and held his trident firm in his hand. Not to be a pain, King Hiashi, but could you get us out of here? Sakura asked as she pointed to the coral cage they were in. Please, King Hiashi, Neji added with a low bow of respect. Yes, it would be very youthful of you, your majesty. Lee had to add something about youth. Hiashi lifted his trident and freed his daughter's friend. Speaking of daughters, where is Hinata? Hiashi thought as he and the rest of the group swam to the surface. When they arrived they saw Hinata sitting on a rock looking at Naruto, who lay on the shore completely exhausted from the battle, longingly. Sakura let out a loving sigh as she looked at her best friend. Lee was going on about how youthful Naruto was for saving them all. She really does love him. Hiashi asked as he stared at his daughter. She really does, King Hiashi, more than you know. Sakura answered, not letting her eyes leave her friend. What should I do? Hiashi asked more to himself than anyone, but Neji looked at the conflicted father before giving his advice. It's like I always say, people need to be free to live their own lives. Neji said. You always say that. Hiashi looked at Neji incredulously. Neji sheepishly shrugged. So what will you do, King Hiashi? I am sure that whatever decision you make, the bloom of youth will be proud. Lee shouted in satisfaction. Hiashi nodded in acknowledgement of the youthful crab's input. You ask me, I say you let the girl be with him. She went through a lot to get him to notice her. Sasuke added. Everyone turned to look at the eel. When the hell did you get here? Sakura asked as she refrained from punching the eel. Who the hell are you? I got here the same time you all did, and the name is Sasuke. I used to work for Orochimaru, but quit when he was trying to get King Hiashi to sign the contract. Sasuke said as coolly as ever. Why did you leave? Neji asked. You've seen Orochimaru, do I need to say more? Sasuke asked as he turned to face the group. Everyone shook their heads. If it was them they would have left Orochimaru too. Well, I guess there is only one problem left. Hiashi began. What is that? Sakura asked, truly curious. There were plenty of problems in this situation. Like how is she going to cheer up her lovesick friend? How much I am going to miss her. Hiashi finished as he placed the trident on top of the water, sending a glittery magic towards Hinata. Hinata felt a weird yet nice sensation in her tail, so she decided to check it out. She looked down, and smiled. She looked at her father and friends and mouthed, "Thank you," to them. The blonde prince was slowly waking up from his nice little nap on the beach. Geez, what happened? I remember, ramming the mast into the octopus thing. And Hinata. Where's Hinata? Naruto thought as he quickly stood up and searched the ocean for Hinata. He could not find her and began to fear the worst, but just as he was about to dive into the ocean to search for her, he sees an indigo head coming towards him. As the water got shallower, the indigo head turned out to be Hinata in a strapless sparkling lavender dress walking towards Naruto with open arms and a blush on her pale cheeks. Naruto sprinted towards her and grabbed her into a hug while he spun her around. Hinata giggled as Naruto stopped spinning her around and gave her a crushing hug again. Hee, it's easier hugging you know without the clam bra. Naruto told her teasingly. Hinata blushed profusely, which made Naruto laugh. Well, how are you going to repay me? Repay you? Hinata asked, confused while still in Naruto's hug. Yeah, I just saved your life, your dad's life, and the 7 Seas from a crazy maniac. I think I deserve some sort of reward, Naruto said, winking at Hinata. Hinata caught on and blushed even more. How be bout AK kisses P payment? Hinata stuttered, completely embarrassed by her stuttering. Naruto pulled her face towards his. Their lips mere inches away from each other. A kiss is perfect, he said as he placed his lips on hers. They closed their eyes as they enjoyed the kiss they had both been waiting so long to have. Ever had that feeling when you are so nervous you can't even move, let alone think? You're so nervous that your body shakes, and you feel all jittery. You jump at the slightest noise, and have to grip onto something just to calm your nerves. Plus, the worst part is, you know you are nervous over nothing. You know there is nothing to be nervous about. Well, the lavender-eyed mermaid princess was feeling all of this. Why, today was the day she had been waiting for, today is her wedding day. Hinata was all dressed in a strapless simple white gown that hugged her curves, but made her look so sweet and innocent, which fits her personality. There were not many intricate designs on the dress, it was simple yet elegant. Her hair is curled and looked like a cascade of indigo tresses. She wore very little makeup since she really did not like the stuff. Her veil had little pearls in it, and was held up by a pearl tiara. She looked beautiful, but she was still nervous. She held on tightly to her lavender rose bouquet as she tried to calm herself down. Deep down, she knew there was nothing to be worried about. She was marrying the only person she could ever love, and she was beyond happy about that. Hinata closed her eyes so she could create a mental picture of her soon-to-be husband. His captivating sapphire eyes put the color of the sea to shame, his sun-kissed hair all spiky no matter what was done to it. His whisker marks that he had on his tan face were so cute, she loved to trace them with her fingers while he held her tight. A blush came up on her face when she opened her eyes. She was calm now, and ready to get married. Well, it's about time. An annoying shrill came through her window. She giggled as she turned to see the senile seagull flying in. Hello, Sarutobi, how are you? Hinata asked sweetly as she straightened her tiara. Sarutobi flew in front of her and landed on her vanity. Doing fine. Just wanted to check up on the bride, so this is going to be one unique wedding. I suppose so. Not too often does one get married out at sea. Hinata replied. Yes, she was happy that Naruto wanted to get married out at sea. She was thrilled because now her family and the rest of the kingdom could see her get married to the man of her dreams. That's not what I meant, Hinata. Sarutobi replied with a slightly exasperated tone. I meant that this wedding is going to join the land and sea. You know humans and merpeople. Guess I never thought about it like that, you make a good point. What point? Sarutobi asked, dead serious. About the joining of the land and sea. I said that. Yes you did. Nah, I would have never thought about that. But you, oh never mind. Hinata smiled as she shook her head at the senile bird that still had a confused look on his face. Hinata chuckled as she turned away from the bird to face the mirror. Knock, knock, knock. Come in, Hinata answered sweetly. Tsunade came in wearing a green dress that showed off her assets pretty well. Her brown eyes seemed to smile as she looked at Hinata. Well, don't you look beautiful? Well, I just came in to say that everyone is waiting for you. Are you ready? Tsunade asked. Hinata gave herself one more look over in the mirror. All right, it's now or never. Hinata thought as she nodded to Naruto's advisor. Good, let's go, Tsunade stated as she got out of the way to allow Hinata to go out the door. I'll see y'all later, Hinata, I wouldn't miss your wedding for anything. Sarutobi shrilled as he went out through the window he came through. Out on the ship's deck, everything was decorated for the biggest wedding ever known. Kakashi and Iruka could be seen helping the guests get to their seats for the ceremony. Naruto stood at the end of the aisle near the priest's podium adjusting his collar. He was anxious. He wanted to get this wedding started because the sooner it's over, the sooner Hinata is officially his bride, and he has been waiting for that. Princess Hinata Uzumaki Namikaze. I like that, Naruto thought. Jiraiya walked up to the boy to give him some last-minute advice. Alright, Prince Naruto, I am going to impart with you some of my wisdom. Jiraiya began with a tone of superiority in his voice. Naruto rolled his eyes. Wisdom? Naruto asked incredulously. Jiraiya glared at him, but let the question slide. Always make sure she is happy. Her needs go before yours, and it is your job to protect her. Love her even when you don't feel like you do because deep down, you know you do. You understand me, boy? Jiraiya advised with a very serious tone, which is completely unlike him. Wow, Jiraiya, that was actually good advice. Naruto commented with a shock expression on his face and a surprised tone. Jiraiya smirked. Well, of course I give good advice. I am, after all, your advisor. Besides, you follow this advice and you will totally get laid tonight. Do something tonight that will make me proud enough to put it into one of my books. Jiraiya exclaimed with a perverted look on his face. Naruto could see the Jiraiya thinking up of different things Hinata and him could do on their wedding night. Jiraiya's nose began to bleed a little. I knew it was too good to be true. Naruto thought, annoyed at his advisor. Arrow advisor, stop imagining things, you sick pervert. Naruto yelled loud enough that it caught Tsunade's attention, who just came in from getting Hinata ready to walk down the aisle. Tsunade marched over and punched Jiraiya square in the head. You crazy old pervert, it is a wedding. Behave yourself. Tsunade scolded the white-haired man. Naruto sighed, exasperated at the man. The blonde woman turned to face Naruto with a warm look in her brown eyes. Congratulations, Prince Naruto, I know you two will be very happy together. Thank you, Tsunade. That means a lot to me. Naruto answered with a voice filled with gratitude. Tsunade nodded as Jiraiya recovered from her punch. Well, we should start the wedding. No sense in keeping your bride waiting, Tsunade said. Naruto smiled and nodded. This is the moment he has been waiting for. Tsunade dragged Jiraiya to their seats as the band began playing the wedding march. Naruto took a nervous gulp as the music began. When he looked down the aisle, he stopped breathing. There was his future bride looking so beautiful that all his brain could manage to do was take her in. He could not believe that by the end of the ceremony that beautiful woman would be legally his, and he hers. It was mind-boggling. When Hinata arrived by his side, he let out the breath he had not realized he was holding. The lavender roses brought out her lavender eyes' beauty, and he felt himself getting lost in them. When he finally regained his composure, he smiled one of his infamous grins at her that caused her to blush. You look amazing, Hinata-chan. Naruto complimented her. She blushed as per usual. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You look very handsome. Hinata smiled as they both turned to the priest, who cleared his throat to get the couple's attention. We are gathered here today to witness the union of two lives. The old priest droned on about two people coming together, and other things along those lines. Naruto, however, was not listening to the priest. He was too busy stealing glances of the beautiful woman that stood next to him. He actually almost missed his cue to say, I do. Do you, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Crown Prince of Konoha, take here Hinata Hyuga, Princess of the Ocean, to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, to love and to cherish, until death does you part? I do, Naruto said with certainty. He looked at Hinata with his azure eyes full of love and devotion. And do you, Hinata Hyuga, Princess of the Ocean, take Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Crown Prince of Konoha, as your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, to love and to cherish, until death does you part? I do, Hinata answered without hesitation. The priest looked up from the scroll he was reading from to smile at the young couple. Well then, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss the bride, the priest declared. Naruto and Hinata turned to face each other. Naruto caressed Hinata's cheek before leaning into her soft plump lips to seal the deal. Hinata kissed back. Hinata was as red as a rose, which made Naruto chuckle lightly. Talk about a blushing bride. Naruto teased lightly his new wife. As soon as he finished teasing her, Kyuubi jumped up and licked both their faces as if showing his approval for his master's choice of a wife. People stood up and started cheering for the newlyweds. Tsunade took out her handkerchief and began dabbing her eyes with it. "What's a matter with you?" Kakashi asked. "I just love weddings," Tsunade replied as more happy tears trailed down her face. "Me too," Iruka added to the conversation. "This wedding screams the BLLOM of youth," Lee yelled from on top of the 7-layered white and lavender frosted wedding cake. He sat between the Naruto and Hinata toppers on the cake. Unfortunately, Lee's shriek of youth grabbed the attention of Chef Choji, who was looking for his revenge. "You!" Choji yelled as he pulled a butcher knife from the serving table. Lee gasped as he barely jumped out of the way when Choji's knife came down. The cake was sliced perfectly in half, revealing the dark chocolate interior. Yum, chocolate. Lee ran as fast as his crab legs would allow him to go down the nicely decorated deck with Choji behind him brandishing his butcher's knife. Lee's eyes grew wide for fear of his life. He was not ready to go yet, there was so many more youthful experiences he wanted to have. "I am going to kill you and serve you up to fry for dinner. Or maybe I should boil you, I bet you could make a nice soup, then again maybe a seafood ramen, the prince loves ramen." Choji began mumbling as he stood still in the center of the deck. This gave Lee enough time to take in his surroundings. He noticed a tied-up rope near him. As he followed where the rope led with his eyes, he realized that if he cut it the rope would let loose. Smack! A beam from the ship's mast moved from its secured location to hit Choji square in the face. Lee smiled and jumped up and over the boat, ecstatic that his plan worked. Hinata and Naruto made their way to the edge of the boat to see their other guests. The ocean surface was filled with merpeople who all came to watch their youngest princess marry a human prince. King Hiashi used his power over the sea to bring up Hinata's siblings one at a time. Udon was the first one to go up to congratulate his sister. "Congratulations, Hinata, sniff, I am really happy for you, sniff, going to miss you at the palace, sniff," Udon said as he wiped his constantly running nose. Hinata smiled softly at her brother. "I'll miss you too, Udon Nisan," Hinata said as she waved goodbye to him. After Udon was back in the water, Kurenai was the next one up. "Well, take care of yourself and I know you will make an excellent wife, and someday mother. I'll miss you dearly," Kurenai cried as she hugged her sister in a motherly embrace. Hinata blushed at her sister's comment. "I'll miss you too, Kurenai Nisan. Take good care of Asuma-san, and your baby. I know you will make a wonderful mother." Hinata smiled as she rubbed her sister's swollen stomach. Kurenai blushed as she waved goodbye. The next one up was Anko. She had a smirk on her face that clearly said she was up to no good. "So, Squirt, gonna miss you. I'm not gonna have anyone to target practice with," Anko said. Hinata shuddered as she remembers what Anko's definition of target practice is. She still had some scars from those times. "I'll miss you too, Anko Nisan." Hinata smiled warily. After Anko left, Konohamaru came up. "Yo, Naruto, you better take good care of my sister," Konohamaru began. Naruto wrapped his arm around Hinata's waist protectively. "Of course I will, Datbeo," Naruto exclaimed as he held Hinata tighter. Konohamaru smiled wide, then turned to his sister. "Take care of yourself, okay? I will, and same to you. I am going to miss you," Hinata said as she kissed Konohamaru's forehead. He smiled as he went down. Hanabi was the next one to say something to her newly married sister. "Oh, Imo Udo-chan, I am going to miss you so much. It is going to be so lonely without you," Hanabi cried as she held her sister in a tight embrace which Hinata returned. "Oh, I will miss you so much too, Hanabi-ni-chan. Take care of everyone, alright," Hinata said. Hanabi nodded. Now it was Shikamaru's turn. "She can be troublesome," he lazily began. "But I can guarantee you, she is worth it," Shikamaru told Naruto. "So you better take good care of her." "Of course I will, and I know she is worth it," Naruto said as he bonded with his brother-in-law. "Imo Udo-chan, stay happy." "I will, Shikamaru Nisan." Hinata kissed Shikamaru on the cheek and gave him a sisterly hug which he returned with a slight smile on his face. Sakura was the next one to come up. Oh, I am going to miss you, Hinata-chan. It's going to be so lonely without you. I can't believe you are leaving me alone with Neji and Lee. Sakura gushed out as she allowed some tears to fall down her cheeks. Hinata allowed some to fall as well as she hugged her lifelong best friend. I'll miss you too, Sakura-chan. Try to visit often and I'll do the same. Yeah, good thing you live near the ocean. Sakura finished but quickly turned to Naruto. If you make her cry or unhappy, I will personally hunt you down and beat the crap out of you. Sakura threatened. Naruto nervously rubbed the back of his head as Sakura retreated back into the water. Neji then came up and gave her a gruff goodbye. He was not really sure what to say to her. He had never been good at this kind of thing, but he didn't need to say anything. Hinata hugged him and whispered into his ear her eternal thanks to him. Neji nodded and then returned to the ocean, but not before giving Naruto a warning glare. Hiyashi was the final one to come up to say goodbye. Hiyashi as well was not sure what to say, but luckily for him, Hinata knew what she needed to say. Thank you, Daddy. I love you, she said as she hugged him tightly and kissed his cheek. Hiyashi smiled. I love you too, Hinata. He then turned to Naruto. You better keep your wedding vows to her. Hiyashi threatened as he let his trident glow with power to further back up his threat. Naruto looked at him with complete seriousness. I will, Hiyashi Dono. I love your daughter more than anything, and I will never break my vows. I never go back on my words, Datbeo. Naruto replied with conviction. Hiyashi nodded, convinced that the boy will take care of his daughter. He then turned towards the sky as he pointed his trident towards it. His trident began glowing, and Hiyashi waved it in an arch to create a beautiful rainbow in celebration of this momentous day. Hiyashi went back into the water and Hinata and Naruto waved goodbye to all the merpeople that were at the surface. So, Princess Namikaze, you happy? Naruto asked as he pulled Hinata as close as he possibly could. Hinata smiled as she looked up into his ocean blue eyes. Extremely so. I am finally part of your world. Hinata replied with a sweet smile that made Naruto go crazy for her. He crashed his lips onto hers and used the kiss to convey how much he loved her, as she did the same. And I glad you are. Naruto smirked when they parted for air. Hinata blushed, and went back for another kiss. Thanks.